Welcome to the fantasy audiobook, Resurrection of the Mystery, starting from the clone of the stone-born monkey. Chapter 41. Did His Highness do it? The soldiers at the bottom started to be surprised. They knew that half a year ago, the Yu Kingdom replaced a new Yu King, but as soldiers guarding the border, they had never seen what the new Yu King looked like, and he was most familiar with his boss and the Taiwei who had been leading them to fight against the barbarians. The so-called, the leader's leader is not my leader. This is probably the true reflection of the thinking of these border soldiers, obeying the orders of their superiors and guarding their own 3-acre land. As long as the military pay is paid and the enemy is meritorious, the succession of the Xinyu king really has nothing to do with most of their low-level soldiers. But right now, my boss actually said that the king of Xinyu was guided by ghosts and gods, knew the changes of the weather, and helped them win a big victory. Now, the soldiers at the bottom started paying attention to their own King Xinyu again. What's the matter, Bingtu? You told us, how did your highness invite the gods to summon ghosts? The soldiers at the lower level were both curious and awed by those gods and ghosts. The two emotions merged. In their minds, His Royal Highness, the King of Yu who had never seen him before, had a somewhat mysterious sense of majesty. The head of the army knew that there were more soldiers than these low-level soldiers. He smiled and said, "That's amazing. Our King Diu can not only call ghosts and gods, but also know the face of the gods. Let us use the power of heaven to beat up those barbarians. Your Highness can also avoid floods and disasters, and protect crops. Let's just say that this year's rice in our village was saved by His Highness who knew about the flood in advance and arranged for the villagers to keep it. This year's barn is full, and every family has food." Quote. These soldiers are grouped together in the ranks. Most of the small groups are from the same village, and they have a strong fellowship. They support each other in the army with the fellowship as a bond. The village Bingtu mentioned was also their village, where their families live. Everyone was surprised to hear that under the guidance of King Xinyu, their village had blocked the flood this year and had a good harvest. In their minds, fighting wars and farming are two equally important things. And the King of Xinyu was able to take care of them, which benefited them a lot. This is simply a god. Your Highness is holy, your Highness is 1,000 years old. The soldiers all sincerely praised. Their sincere voices turned into invisible thoughts, gathered into luck, and could be sensed by Wang Jie even though they were separated by thousands of miles. The hearts of the people also include the hearts of the soldiers. Even the most remote soldiers believe in me, and my luck will increase. Wang Jie's thoughts turned, and he felt in his heart. There should be an old captain helping the flames. He controls the army and allows my reputation to spread among the soldiers at the bottom. Wang Jie is very pleased to have Zhao Rui so dedicated and loyal to his master. Keep this feeling in your heart and focus on the current matter. Because of the improvement of luck, the stone-born spirit monkey has gained more nourishment and become more active. As the seed of gods and demons, it can display more abilities. Wang Jie realized that the stone-born spirit monkey had changed. This seed of gods and demons has extraordinary potential. When I first came into contact with it, I knew that it would have the ability to turn the stars when it grows up. The so-called Dozhuan Xingyi, the superficial meaning is to be able to manipulate the positions of the stars and change the celestial phenomena. But in fact, it refers to the ability of the stone-born monkey to manipulate the laws of the world, which is a great supernatural power. The former is performance, the latter is essence. Now, with a little more luck in offering stone fetuses, the spirit monkey can tap more of its own potential and understand the laws of the world more thoroughly. In addition to the eye of mingling and the innate talent enhancement, Wang Jie also acquired a new kind of knowledge, the use of luck. Qi luck is the power of the people's wishes. The power of the wishes is not only a kind of thought, but also a kind of energy. In essence, it has many similarities with the filthy air. It is just the power of the people. It is the recognition and respect for me, the King of Yu. Praise is positive, and filth is the extreme negative emotion of 50,000 dead bones. After the stone fetus spirit monkey was promoted, Wang Jie's insight into the essence of things became deeper and deeper. He stood up and got out of the carriage. Seeing this, Yan Fei hurriedly followed, and said nervously, "Your Highness, this place may be dangerous, please be extremely cautious." However, Wang Jie swept away the solemnity before, and he seemed calm, with the corner of his mouth raised. I am the king of you alone. The hearts of all people are in the same direction. Gods and ghosts help each other. Demons are easy to avoid and dare not harm. Mere evil, why should I be afraid? As soon as these words came out, the Kaizu luck surrounding Wang Jie became restless. Originally shaped like a gaseous state, like thin strands of silken satin, it is light and has no substance. To Wang Jie, the symbolic meaning is greater than the practical significance. A change in shape occurs below. The vermilion luck began to condense into a ball, and then spread out, turning into a spherical shield with a radius of about 1 foot, covering Wang Jie and the guards. This luck forms a shield, and only Wang Jie can see it intuitively through the eyes of the mingling, but whether it is Yanfei or the other 2 guards, they just inexplicably feel that the surroundings have changed. The originally uneasy sense of oppression disappeared, as if a boulder weighing on my heart was removed, which made me feel more relaxed. But at this moment, looking at Wang Jie again, a feeling of longing, trust, and admiration will arise in his heart. Originally, Yanfei and the other 2 guards had respect for His Royal Highness King Yu, but with the blessing of faith in his heart, he felt that Wang Jie is like the sun that favors all things at this moment, making people warm and majestic inviolable. There is even an urge to repay the king's kindness in the bottom of my heart. The 3 people who were wrapped by Yu Wang's luck all had a thought in their hearts at the moment. This is the posture of a holy king, the aura of a domineering king. As the source of Yu Wang's luck, Wang Jie clearly knew the changes that happened to him and his guards. Luck is the power of the people's wishes. When I form a position, it can protect me, the king of Yu, from evil spirits. After I use my power of wish to contact others, they will also be moved by the power of the people of Yu. Infected, people who believe in the king of Yu will be more determined, and those who are hostile to the king of Yu will feel pressure and fear, and even think that they cannot be enemies, and run away. Does this mean that the younger brother bowed his head as soon as he was arrogant, and the enemy was scared to death? Quote. Wang Jie comprehended how to use Qi luck, which is the skill he learned after the stone-born spirit monkey grew up. With hundreds of thousands of people's willingness as a barrier, I will not be afraid of the impact of those 50,000 remnants. Wang Gechi looked imposing, looked at the guards on the left and right, and wrote lightly. Gentlemen, let's go to the burial ground for a while. As soon as these words came out, under the blessing of the king's aura, the 3 guards all had no worries and anxiety in their hearts. They just felt that no matter how difficult and dangerous, as long as they follow the person in front of them, they will surely succeed. My minister obeys orders, Yanfei and others said loudly. Wang Jie smiled slightly, waved his sleeves, and walked towards the place where the broken sword was located calmly. Under the shadow of King Yu's luck, Yanfei and others no longer feel uneasy. A group of 4 people stepped across the ground torn apart by the earthquake, stepped on the sand-covered bone burial ground, and walked step by step towards the broken sword in the center. Wang Jie Mingling's pupils are shining brightly, and under the insight of the divine pupils, there is nowhere to hide the movements of the filthy air. Until the distance between the 2 was 300 meters, the remnant thoughts gathered by the 50,000 bones seemed to be aware of the existence of Wang Jie and others, and even more aware of the positive thoughts gathered by the hundreds of thousands of people gathered by Yu Wang Qian. The filth begins to stir. There was an abnormality in the surrounding environment, and the cracks on the surface began to spew out the wind, sweeping the sand and gravel on the ground, and whistling in all directions. All of a sudden, sand and rocks flew, and the wind suddenly blew up. Not only that, but in the dark wind, people shouted, horses neighing, and the sounds of golden spears clinking were heard strangely, which was extremely noisy. It is as if facing not a strong wind, but an army of tens of thousands that is about to rush to kill. Ordinary people here are afraid that they will be thrown off their feet by the strong wind, and it will be difficult for them to move forward. And the extreme resentment of the dead soul of Gui country mixed in the strong wind will shock the soul even more, and hallucinations will occur frequently. It made people panic, and turned around and ran away. The gust of wind is like a knife cutting, the face is sore, and the corners of the clothes are chasing. Howling winds, howling ghosts and howling wolves, terror again and again. But Wang Jie was moving forward steadily. He was successful in training meat, and his arm strength alone was 1,000 caddies. After practicing Kaishan Jin, according to the arrangement, he also practiced walking in the mud to strengthen the muscles of the feet. The achievements of martial arts practice in the past are revealed at this moment. Wang Jie walked like an old tree taking root, and the strong wind couldn't shake his steps at all. However, the impact of the residual consciousness and turbid thoughts carried by the dark wind was all blocked by the barrier formed by the Yu King's luck, as well as Yan Fei and others whom he sheltered. The restlessness of the filthy qi has nothing to do with Wang Jie and others, but Wang Jie is still moving forward steadily. The distance between the two has been shortened from 300 meters to 100 meters, 50 meters, 30 meters. After reaching a very close distance, the filthy air became more restless, and the dark wind rising from the ground became more violent, even shaking the ground slightly. The sky and the sun are no longer visible to the naked eye, they are covered by flying yellow sand, and the visual distance to the naked eye is less than 10 meters, which is extremely dim. Not only was his vision limited, but ghosts began to appear in the gust of wind again. This time it was no longer an illusion, but the remnants of 50,000 dead soldiers manifested with the help of the filth. Their upper bodies are all with disheveled hair, or missing heads and limbs, covered in dirty blood and blurred faces, while their lower bodies are vaguely visible, as if floating in the air, supernatural and terrifying. They piled on top of each other like this, as if there were tens of thousands of bodies, appearing in front of the four people, surrounding Wang Jie and others. However, no one feels fear. Under the protection of the shield of luck, these lonely ghosts can't break through the people of Yu to gather their energy. And in the protection, Yan Fei and other people who trust Wang Jie are blessed with luck and have a steady stream of courage. Your Highness has no fear, with our guards, we will not let such evil spirits get close. Yan Fei, Yi Yang, Chen He and others shouted in unison. The voices of the three were louder than the howling ghosts and wolves outside, which made people feel very excited. The wind is captivating to the eyes, but Wang Jie's mingling eyes can still see through the confusion, accurately lock the position of the broken sword, and move towards the target accurately. 30 meters, 20 meters, 10 meters. Suddenly, Wang Jie frowned. The three guards all felt something in their hearts, they suddenly drew their weapons and stepped forward quickly. Several black lights flashed in the strong wind, shooting towards Wang Jie at an extremely fast speed. But Wang Jie's guards reacted faster. Yan Fei drew his sword out, and the strength of the blood-changing warriors was fully revealed at this moment. The sword light was woven into a dense net, guarding Wang Jie's body, and all the black light that came flying in the strong wind cover up. There were bursts of strong and powerful clanging sounds, and sparks of metal and iron clashing frequently exploded. When the black light fell on the ground, it turned out to be broken and rusted sword blades or broken arrowheads. Under the force of the strong wind, these broken blades had extremely fast speed and strength, and there were hundreds of them in number. This is going to hit people, I'm afraid they will be beaten into a bloody hornet's nest. But the guards around Wang Jie are all martial arts masters. There are defenses on the left and right in front, and splashing water can't get in. No matter how fierce these swords are, there is no body that can get close to Wang Jie. Snort. Wang Jie let out a cold snort. Things that are tangible and intangible can only be used to bluff people. No matter how the filthy aura acted as a demon, Wang Jie approached steadily. 10 meters, 5 meters, 3 meters. Suddenly, a huge boulder was engulfed by the strong wind, and it hit Wang Jie and others heavily. Yan Fei, whose eyes were wide open, his right fist was clenched tightly, his muscles bulged, his blood was rushing like a river, and his body let out a rumbling sound. Don't hurt my lord. With a single punch, the momentum of the earth shattering was unexpectedly shocking, and the extremely oppressive boulder was blasted to pieces. In the scattered stone rain, Wang Jie stepped forward, grasping the handle of the broken sword with the palm of his hand accurately. The moment the two came into contact, an extremely violent filthy air flowed into Wang Jie's spiritual soul following the contact, trying to wash away and devour his mind. However, the golden light in Wang Jie's eyes was shining brightly, and he saw through the huge piles of dirty thoughts in the broken sword. The remnant souls of these 50,000 dead bones screamed at him, trying to tear his spirit into pieces. Wang Jie didn't have the slightest fear. His confidence was that hundreds of thousands of you people gathered their strength to form luck. Blessed by luck and willing to suppress it, Wang Jie said. It's already rude to see the king's disobedience. If you dare to commit an offense, you will be punished for treason. 50,000 remnants are raging, and hundreds of thousands are willing to support them. Facing the impact of the filthy air, Wang Jie was conscious, and the golden light in his eyes was strong. He saw that the remnant sword was connected to 50,000 corpses in the ground. With the help of the power of the yin veins, it gathered the filthy air, trying to break his mind and occupy his mind. If it is an ordinary martial arts master, even a martial arts master, it is difficult to keep his mind in the face of this huge filthy aura, and the end of his mind if he loses his mind is to be occupied by the broken sword and become a sword slave. However, Wang Jie possesses the luck of the king of Yu, and his power of vows comes from the people of Yu. As long as the people support him, his power of vows will continue to flow. Holding the sword hilt in his hand, the lingering wind cut the robe of his right hand like a blade, and even cut open the skin, leaving several marks and bleeding. Wang Jie narrowed his eyes slightly, and felt the pain coming from his body. He did not dodge or dodge, and the muscles on his right arm swelled up. The martial arts practice in the past made Wang Jie's muscles as hard and strong as granite. He straightened his chest and said in his mouth, "I am the king of Yu alone. How can I allow you and other evil spirits to act like monsters in my country?" The blood is surging, the willingness is gathering. "Rise!" Wang Jie pulled out fiercely, the broken sword fell off the ground, and the connection between 50,000 corpses and yin veins was suddenly severed. Stop time. The evil wind stopped suddenly, the universe is clear. The sand and stones all over the sky stop, the sky reveals. It can be seen that the sun is thinning on the western mountains, and the red clouds are long. Yan Fei shook the yellow sand scattered on his body, held a sword in one hand, narrowed his eyes slightly, and looked around. At this moment, there are no ghosts and shadows, the wind is howling, and everything that has just been experienced is like a dream. Stepping on a barren white ground, Yan Fei and the other guards were in a trance for a moment. What just happened? What did I do? It seems that His Highness said that the burial site is dangerous, so let me go with him. Looking back, the guards only felt that once Wang Jie's words came out, they felt unprecedented encouragement in their hearts, almost unconditionally wanting to follow His Highness to do this thing, and then there was a sudden gust of wind, flying sand and stones, and there were many ominous shadows, like being in a ghost. That's right, Your Highness. Yan Fei and the others moved their eyes. At this moment, Wang Jie was standing in front of everyone, and there were bones on the ground exposed by the tumbling veins of the earth due to the strong wind. As the sun sets, the brilliant sun shines. He was in the middle of the corpse, holding a broken sword, and half of his sleeve was broken, revealing a strong arm already dripping with blood. Seeing blood, Yan Fei and others were startled, and hurried forward. Your Highness, you are injured. Wang Jie lowered his head, his eyes were looking at the sword in his hand. When he heard Yan Fei's voice, he noticed his wound. It's okay, it's just a flesh injury, just bandage and apply medicine, and let it rest for a few days. Although the arm was burning and hurting, Wang Jie could still bear it. Yan Fei looked up and down the situation of His Royal Highness, and after making sure that his breathing was steady, his complexion was rosy, and there were no other mistakes, he was relieved. He looked at the other two guards, Yi Yang and Chen He. I have golden sore medicine here. Yi Yang took out the medicine bottle from his body, he was a professional guard. Wang Jie secretly glanced at the potion with the eyes of mingling, and let them treat the wound for him. At this time, the three of them who had relaxed noticed that there was an extra broken sword among Singer Wang. According to the slightly vague memory just now, it seems that His Highness came here just for this sword. Looking at the sword body, I found that it was cracked and dilapidated, as if it would be broken if touched lightly. However, with such a broken sword, Yi Yang and Chen He just glanced at it, and a hostility surged in their hearts. Gold and iron horses came from their ears, and the smell of blood rose from the tip of their noses. Suddenly, a rosy white palm blocked the two people's view of Qinjian. Don't look at it and don't touch it, this sword will disturb your mind. When Wang Jie spoke, his voice seemed to have an inexplicable power to dispel the hostility in their hearts. The two woke up as if they had just woken up from a dream, and they were convinced by His Highness's words spontaneously, and then they no longer dared to look at Qinjian. Your Highness is right, this sword is weird. Seeing that the two had returned to normal, Wang Jie took back his luck. It was he who used the wish contained in luck to dispel the abnormal hostility in Yi Yang and Chen He's hearts. Switching the remnant sword from the right hand to the left hand, while accepting Yan Fei to deal with the wound, while summarizing the process of drawing the sword. The key to the smooth drawing of the sword this time lies in the use of the power of luck. I never thought that the power of luck could have such a magical effect. Wang Jie felt emotional. It is also because of the change of the stone-born spirit monkey that he can gain insight into the essence of more things and know the human law of heaven, earth and man, so he understands how to use luck. Then there is the remnant sword that has gathered a lot of filth. Wang Jie secretly opened the eyes of the Mingling, gaining insight into the inner part of the broken sword in his hand. In fact, this sword has already been broken into 103 pieces, large and small, scattered in this burial ground. Later, under the guidance of the remnant thoughts of 50,000 bones, these fragments were glued together with filthy air as gel, barely in the shape of a sword. And let this broken dead thing have some wisdom and power. Quote, peeping through the eyes of the Mingling, the remnant sword contains a lot of filthy air. It can be said that the filthy air is the soul of this sword, and resides in this broken sword body. This filthy chi is extremely huge, comparable to the whole body of a martial arts master, and even worse. Fortunately, I pulled it out in time, and before it took shape, I cut off its connection with the yin veins, let its development stop here. However, this remnant sword still retains a lot of filth, and it can still erode people's hearts and endanger others. Just now, Yi Yang and Chen He just glanced at it, and they were affected by its remnant thoughts. Only I can hold this sword at the moment. I can use Yu Wang's luck to suppress the filthy aura so that it will not cause chaos, but I'm afraid others can't, even if it's a martial arts master. If I want to make this broken sword harmless, I need to consume all the filthy energy in it, so as to ensure safety. Quote, thinking of this, Wang Jie recalled that a few days ago, he strengthened his soul experience through a little bit of filth attached to a human bone. This is a good method. It can not only make this broken sword harmless, but also help my soul practice. With a solution in mind, he also remembered that he had come into contact with the soul-nourishing exercise, Bauman's Sutra, a few months ago. I don't know much about the soul-cultivating system. I don't know how far the soul-cultivating system can be cultivated with the filthy aura of this remnant sword, and what kind of power the soul-cultivating system can display. Quote, thinking of this, Wang Jie had expectations in his heart. Then, his eyes moved down, from Kanjian to the ground. The eye of Mingling sees through the surface, sees the buried corpses below, and the yin veins deeper. The yin veins still exist, and they are still releasing yin qi to the outside world. 50,000 dead bones also exist, and they will still absorb yin qi, generate new filthy qi, and brew a new evil spirit. Thinking of this, Wang Jie secretly said, trouble. Think carefully about the solution strategy. If you want to eradicate this trouble, you must either remove the 50,000 bones, or remove the yin veins, or absorb the power of the yin veins. Yin veins are indeed a good resource for cultivating the soul. If possible, I really want to take this treasure of heaven and earth as my own, but this thing is located deep underground. Thinking about it this way, the most likely way to implement it is to move these bones. The pure yin qi produced by the yin veins is harmless in itself. It is the resentment of the bones that pollutes the pure yin qi. After removing the bones, it can indeed solve the problem. But excavating 50,000 corpses is not a small project. I guess I can conscript civilian husbands to serve in corvée as the king of Yu. The current national policy of the Yu state is to lighten the corvée and lighten the tax, and to recuperate. Wang Jie really doesn't want to make a lot of construction. At the same time he also thought. Besides, this land is too special. Ordinary civilians may be attacked by filthy atmosphere during the excavation process. Moreover, if it involves gods and ghosts, if it is widely spread, people may be disturbed. While Wang Jie was thinking, the three guards were also reminiscing about this experience. They were going to the burial ground at the request of His Highness, but suddenly found that the place was abnormal. His Highness insisted on approaching, but then there was a gust of wind, and there were many ghosts. This is the first time they have seen such a scene. Recalling it now, as if they were in a nightmare, they were a little scared. What kind of thoughts did I have at the time to face these evil and grotesques? Yan Fei and others recalled that they seemed to be following His Highness at that time. They had infinite courage and dared to face any difficulties and obstacles. Recalling the mood at that time at this moment, I am quite puzzled, but it is the direction of my heart. I just felt that His Highness was so great at that time, and I was willing to go through fire and water for him, no matter what. I have doubts in my heart, and finally can only be summarized as: could it be that this is the appearance of a king? Your Highness has the posture of a king. With this kind of thinking, Wang Ji's image in the guard's eyes suddenly became taller. As for Wang Jie, after thinking hard, he finally found a way to deal with the follow-up of the filth. In my heart, I said silently, slate. The stone slab with a mottled and simple atmosphere appeared before his eyes again. Wang Ji's thoughts moved slightly, and new information appeared on the slate. The fetus of soldiers and evil spirits. The earth nourishes the yin veins, the bone mounds generate resentment, feng shui is in place, and the evil palace is formed. According to the description of the slate, the yin veins deep underground and the buried bones interacted with each other, turning the land under Wang Ji's feet into a uterine palace. This piece of land is like a maternal body, which constantly produces filthy air and breathes it into a soldier. This should also be a kind of creature, that is, its life form is rather peculiar. Its mother is the yin meridian of heaven and earth, and its father is the bones of tens of thousands of dead men. So, according to the scope of use of the slate, I can turn it into my avatar. Wang Ji's thoughts turned. His ability to clone, the premise is to have rare birds and animals, and the embryonic state of the unborn soul. It is very easy to understand that the spiritual wisdom is not born, it is the fetus whose self-awareness has not yet been born. And the category of rare birds and animals is by no means limited to animals. This fetus of soldiers and demons is also a creature born of pure yin qi. It is considered half an elf of heaven and earth. Although it is not as good as the potential of a god and demon species like a stone monkey with a spirit fetus, it is also extraordinary and refined. I pull it out. This broken sword is just like that. Wang Jie thought to himself. Eyes moved to the sword in hand. From a certain point of view, this is also equivalent to a new life born from the underground yin veins and 50,000 bones. Just because the gestation time is long enough, this remnant sword has already given birth to a certain amount of wisdom, and is extremely destructive, very dangerous. I can't turn it into a clone, but the maternal body that gave birth to it is still there, that is, the yin veins and bones. As long as the yin veins have enough energy, a second existence similar to the remnant sword will still be bred. I can turn the second child into a clone. Quote, Wang Jie figured out a way to deal with the yin veins in the future, which is to turn the new embryo into his own avatar when the burial ground is reconceived. Since it is inconvenient to remove the corpse, and it will continue to absorb the essence emitted by the yin veins, it is better for Wang Jie to do it himself. A clone evolved to compete for the nutrients of the yin veins and suppress the filthy aura of the bones. This method is very good. It can not only solve hidden dangers, but also have a great possibility of harvesting a powerful avatar, killing two birds with one stone. After having a proper solution, Wang Jie felt relieved. Looking at the conditions for the evolution of the stone slab, Wang Jie estimated. Then the next thing to consider is the rebreeding time of the yin veins. After I pull out the remnant sword, the remnants of these bones will also be seriously injured, and will disappear for a long time. His psychic eyes were secretly opened, and through changes, he could glimpse ghosts and gods, and gain insight into the specific time when the next Bingsha embryo would be conceived. In about 300 days, the second embryo will be born. At that time, I will make sure to come again. Before the new embryo is born with intelligence, I will plant the seeds of the clone. This hidden danger will be under control. After confirming the time and planning in his mind, Wang Jie secretly thought that this matter could come to an end. At the same time, Yan Fei also helped him bandage the flesh wound on his right arm. Wang Jie moved for a while, and didn't feel much discomfort, but within a week, he couldn't exert too much force on his right arm. In the end, Wang Jie asked the guards for a piece of thick cloth to wrap the harvested remnant sword airtight so that it would no longer be in contact with the outside world, and suppressed it with luck at all times. Carrying the broken sword on his back, Wang Jie looked up at the sky and said, "It's getting late, let's drive back to the inn, well, I'm hungry." As he said so, he took the lead and walked towards the carriage a few kilometers away. The three guards looked at each other and hurried to follow. After driving several kilometers away from the burial site, Yan Fei asked, "Your Highness, what happened to us before? How could it be so strange and dangerous? There is also the sword that His Highness bears, it is quite unknown from the humble minister's perspective. Yan Fei looked worried and caring. Wang Jie sat on the car seat with a sword resting on his knees. After thinking about it for a while, he smiled and said, "Guided by ghosts and gods alone, I know that there are evil spirits here, and I am afraid that it will cause a catastrophe in the future, so I come here to relieve the disaster. As you can see, this evil spirit is indeed dangerous. Fortunately, with the help of the immortal family alone, and the hearts of the people of Yu Kingdom, this evil spirit can be suppressed." Although what Wang Jie said was true, but Yan Fei and other warriors sounded like gods, and they didn't understand why. It's the fairy family and the people's hearts. They basically can't understand it. What he remembers is that Wang Jie led them into the burial ground, and then they guarded Wang Jie. Finally, Wang Jie pulled out the sword and the matter was over. The evil spirits can be seen, but if there is any fairy trick, forgive their naked eyes and mortals, they can't see it. Yan Fei pursed his lips, and thought to himself that His Royal Highness's inscrutability was not something that happened in a day or two. After trying to figure out what he didn't understand, he simply asked something else. "Your Highness is auspicious, gods and ghosts bless you, and the immortal family clears the way. But I don't know one thing. Where did this evil come from? And your Highness's sword?" Yan Fei's eyes flickered, and he looked at the sword shape tightly wrapped in coarse cloth on Wang Ji's knee. Both Chen He and Yiyang had their ears pricked up, they were very concerned about this matter. When Wang Jie heard the words, he restrained his smile, and his tone became solemn. According to what the Xian family said, this evil spirit is all because of the Battle of Qiangui annihilating decades ago, killing 50,000 Gui soldiers. The frontal veins shifted, allowing the resentment buried in the ground to burst out, and this gave birth to evil spirits. Wang Jie roughly told the cause and effect. He didn't hide too much, because Wang Jie had already sensed that the world had changed, and he had a premonition that similar things would happen in the future, so he said hello to the people around him to make them prepare in their hearts. When Yan Fei and the others heard the words, their expressions also changed. They never thought that the dead could still cause trouble, which shook their worldview. Wang Jie appeased and said, "The evil this time is not abnormal. You don't need to worry too much. Ordinary dead people will not be so vicious. Well, this is a reminder that the officials should thoroughly investigate whether there are such graves for thousands of people in the territory of Yu, so as not to there are evil spirits born, take precautions before they happen. You three, don't spread this matter among the people, lest people's hearts will be disturbed." Quote. Yan Fei nodded slightly. This kind of thing had a big impact on their worldview, and it took some time to digest it. The carriage galloped back to Lui County before midnight. Wang Jie has a cook with him, and even though it's past mealtime, he can still get the cook to start cooking. After a midnight snack to replenish the body's energy. When Wang Jie returned to his guest room, he wanted to undress and sleep as usual, but he thought that there was a broken sword full of filthiness beside him. Holding this sword to sleep, I am afraid that I will be corroded by the filthy air, and I will have nightmares again and again. Wang Jie shook his head, put the remnant sword on his knees, and sat cross-legged. You can take advantage of this opportunity to try to use this sword's filthy qi to increase your soul power and try the Bāman Sutra method of contemplating gods. This can exercise your soul and speed up the absorption of filthy qi. Anyway, I have the blessing of luck, and I have 2 souls to keep my mind fresh, plus I am very talented, so I can give it a try. Quote. Thinking of this, Wang Jie pressed the broken sword with both hands, closed his eyes, and visualized the earth, sea, fire, wind, and the heaven and earth thunder in his mind. He has the mingling stone monkey who has seen the essence of the Bāman Sutra, prayer Nirhan, and he is very skilled in visualizing the earth, sea, fire, wind, and thunder at this moment. Coupled with his extraordinary talent, just a few breaths, Wang Jie constructed the scene in his mind that the world was just opening, the 4 elephants were rotating, and the thunder was startled. And after visualizing the initial world in the sea of consciousness, Wang Jie let go of the suppression of Kanjian a little bit. A trace of filthy air stirred and rushed into Wang Ji's mind. In an instant, when the sea of consciousness first opened, there was an extra murderous army with tens of thousands of people. As soon as the remnants of 50,000 corpses appeared in Wang Ji's sea of consciousness, he wanted to turn this world upside down. However, Wang Ji's thoughts moved slightly, and the four images of the world followed his thoughts. The wind howls, the waves roar, the earth cracks, the fire burns. In this world, before the malicious canyon started to make trouble, he was attacked by the four phenomena of the world. The scene of the first opening of the heaven and the earth in Wang Ji's meditation on knowing the sea is full of charm. This is because he is very talented, and he can learn it as soon as he learns it. Second, the stone-born spirit monkey penetrates the essence and charm of the Brahman Sutra. No one understands the operation of natural principles and the laws of the evolution of heaven and earth better than the spirits of heaven and earth and the species of gods and demons. The stone-born monkey even took the charm of prayer Nirhan from Brahman Sutra, removed the dross of primitive religion, combined with its own understanding of the law and its closeness to nature. The concept of thinking is closer to the truth of heaven and earth. Wang Ji visualized this scene of the opening of the world, even if the turbid thoughts of Kanjian broke into his consciousness with the image of thousands of troops and murderous spirit, he was immediately attacked by the four phenomena of the world. The raging flood raged, flooded the seven armies, the earth opened its mouth, the ghost devoured people, invaded like fire, burned all the evil, the storm swept away, and the universe was cleared. The last golden thunder fell, the universe was fixed, and there was no more evil. Wang Ji's voice echoed in this world. As expected, it is the method of observing gods derived from the seed of gods and demons. It is so powerful that it destroys all the evil thoughts in the filthy air. Wang Ji experienced the specialness of the method of contemplating the gods. No one understands how the heavens and the earth work better than the spirits of the heavens and the earth. What I am practicing is no longer the original religious scripture of praise Nirha, a barbarian god, but a method of observing gods that goes a step further and is closer to the origin of the heavens and the earth. It is worthy of being an elf created by heaven and earth. This kind of talent can create a higher level of exercises based on the existing foundation. Quote, Wang Ji gave this method of contemplating the gods a concise name, Four Symbols Enlightenment Method. Four elephants, or earth, sea, fire and wind, and Ming, is the power of thunder. Evolve the world with the four images, guide the birth of all things with the thunder, take the essence of the essentials of the Brahman Sutra, but do not believe in gods, and all the mighty power belongs to oneself. Wang Ji was running the four-elephant enlightenment method, and the earth sea fire wind shattered the filthy chi released by the remnant sword, and wiped out all the most extreme negative evil thoughts, leaving only the essence of yin chi. Then he guided the extracted pure yin chi, and in the visualized world, a golden thunderbolt fell on the yin chi. The yin chi dispersed and merged into this world, and Wang Ji felt that his soul had grown a little. Calling out, Slate, in my heart. Wang Song, Soul Strength, 1.34. Just the first round of practice, the strength of the soul has actually improved significantly. Wang Ji secretly said, opened his eyes, and there was joy in his eyes. This unremarkable sword, wrapped in layers of rough cloth, is worth as much as martial arts secret food, or even worse, in Wang Ji's opinion. Martial arts secret food can also be obtained by buying, planting, and cultivating, but this item with a filthy atmosphere is rare, and Wang Ji has never heard of it before, which shows its rarity. The cultivation of the soul cultivation system is promising. More soul strength means that I can have more clones. Thinking of the beauty of it, Wang Ji couldn't help clenching his fists. He said in his heart, Janping Pass and his party not only escaped any danger, but also eliminated hidden dangers in time, and also harvested a treasure of cultivation. He stretched out his hand to caress the blade of the broken sword, and suppressed it with the luck of the King of Yu. The large amount of filthy aura contained in this evil sword was difficult to be a demon for a while, and only with Wang Ji's permission could it reveal a little breath. Feeling the surging energy, Wang Ji suddenly raised his brows, raised his mouth and said, Why, unconvinced, want to try again. This damaged evil sword already has a little wisdom, and has already remembered Wang Ji who pulled himself out of the place where he was raised and cut off his own path. And in the contest with Wang Ji just now, he suffered a small loss, and now he just wants to regain his position. Hey, let's do it again. Wang Ji closed his eyes, let go of his luck again, and let some filthy air soak into his sea of consciousness. He is very measured and never exceeds the scope of what he can handle. Once again, the four-elephant enlightenment method, was operated in the Sea of Consciousness, and it was another contest between the earth, sea, fire, wind and thousands of troops, and after breaking it, the pure essence was extracted to help the growth of one's soul. Until the sky outside the window turns pale. Wang Jie actually practiced overnight, but he didn't feel tired. He nourishes the soul, absorbs the essence of yin qi, strengthens his mental strength, and restores his spiritual power with the pure yin qi harvested, and he looks radiant. While meditating and visualizing, his body is naturally relaxed and enters a state of rest, which does not hinder the sleep of the body. It's easy to handle now. Practicing martial arts and cultivating the soul is the right thing to do. In an era when the soul cultivation system lacked cultivation resources and one had to lose martial arts cultivation to strengthen the soul, Wang Jie had already found a way to overcome this shortcoming. That's it. After finishing his trip to Jianping Pass, Wang Jie practiced martial arts during the day and nourished his soul at night, practicing both without delay. It wasn't until Yan Fei and the others recovered from the evil experience at Jianping Pass, and the scar on Wang Jie's arm healed up, that the group continued their journey and headed towards the snake breeding ground. Before leaving Lui County, Wang Jie went to the county magistrate, and as the king of Yu, he had a chat about the resettlement of refugees from other places. Send a letter to the Central Committee to clarify the general situation of foreign refugees' activities in this county. When you return to the palace alone, you must see this memorial. How dare the county magistrate refuse to obey, and quickly arrange for people to find out the situation of the refugees in the county. 3 days after leaving Lui County, Wang Jie and others came to the snake breeding ground, which was located at the foot of Lui Mountain. As a rare and exotic beast, the asp snake is of high value. It is a characteristic industry of the Yu state, and it can produce strategic resources. In addition, the asp snake's strength as a strange beast itself can even be comparable to that of a bone-training warrior, so here in the farm, not only guarded by hundreds of elite soldiers but also a blood-changing warrior. This blood-changing warrior's name is Jian Shu. Apart from the realm of martial arts, he used to fight with the old Yu king in the south and north, and made great contributions. Upon hearing the news of the arrival of the king of Yu, Jian Shu arranged the etiquette and came to greet him. Veteran Jian Shu, I have an audience with His Highness. Jian Shu is also an old soldier who is over 60 years old. Although he has a blood-changing cultivation base and a rosy complexion, he has hair on his temples, a lot of wrinkles, and a stale look. Not only that, Wang Jie opened the eyes of mingling and glanced at Jian Shu, gaining insight into Jian Shu's physical condition. As a blood-changing martial artist, Jian Shu was supposed to be full of blood and age, but he had a lot of hidden injuries which leaked his body's energy. In terms of status, Jian Li is not as good as Yan Fei, who is also at the blood-changing level. Sure enough, as Sikong said, this Jian Shu fought in the early years and accumulated a lot of hidden injuries. He has already injured the foundation of martial arts and cannot make progress. He can only rely on the use of snakes to refine the essence medicine soup to make up for the loss of his body and suppress the hidden injuries. Before leaving, Wang Jie had already done his homework and knew the details of this Prince of Yu. He was looking at Jian Shu, and Jian Shu was also observing Wang Jie secretly, thinking, "Your Highness's eyes are so sharp that I always have the feeling of being seen through from the inside out. The Majesty is even more serious than it was half a year ago." When they met for the first time, Wang Jie showed a little of the intimidating ability of the Eye of Mingling, and at the same time used the luck of the king who had just learned how to use it not long ago. As early as the day when Wang Jie succeeded to the throne, Jian Shu, as one of the civil and military officials, had seen Wang Jie, but his status as a prince was not as good as Sangong, so he could only watch from a distance, and Wang Jie hadn't communicated much. After observing the enthronement ceremony, Jian Shu returned to the snake breeding ground in Lui Mountain to take care of the property and live up to his old age. Jian Shu's impression of Wang Jie was half a year ago, and he had known for a long time that His Highness had a knife-like gaze and a magical body. It was rumored that he could communicate with ghosts and gods. But when they met again half a year later, Jian Shu noticed the change in His Highness and secretly said, "From my point of view, His Highness is full of blood, full of muscles, and has a posture like a rock, and is even closer to marching towards the ribs and tendons. At this age, with such a foundation in martial arts, the future potential can reach the realm of blood exchange, and even higher. In addition, His Majesty's majesty is even more impressive. We, veterans who have experienced many battles, actually feel a little fearful and surrender in front of His Majesty, just like how we used to accompany the previous king. Jian Shu commented in his heart that Wang Ji's martial arts cultivation surprised him, and Wang Ji's aura made him feel intimidated. Even though he has a blood-changing cultivation level and has military achievements, Jian Shu still feels a little cautious in front of Wang Jie. Your Highness has an extraordinary aura. In the future, I will definitely be a dragon and a phoenix among people. I must not take it lightly. Jian Shu reminded himself of his words and deeds in his heart, and silently lowered his head a little deeper during the audience. The subtle changes of this lieutenant were all seen by Wang Jie, and he nodded slightly, thinking to himself. My pretending skills are getting more and more proficient. It's not that he wants to show his prestige, it's just that he sits in the position of King of Yu, and he must have the corresponding majesty so that his courtiers cannot despise him. After showing his majestic side, Wang Jie withdrew the eye of mingling and the coercion of luck, and said with a slight smile. The Hu of Yi Township is exempt from courtesy. I have heard about it before I came. The Hu of Yi Township used to be a brave and powerful general who led troops well and made numerous military exploits. Seeing him today, he is really in high spirits. Jian Shu suddenly felt relieved, and responded, it is the duty of the minister to protect the family and the country. It is a great honor for the minister to be praised by His Highness. After the scene was finished, the two walked into the snake farm. Along the way, Wang Jie and Jian Shu talked extensively. Some asked about Jian Shu's past achievements, and some asked about his current life, showing concern. This benefited Jian Zhu, and secretly said that His Highness is modest and treats people well. The conversation was almost over, and a group of people also went to the breeding area where the vipers were raised. It can be seen that the breeding area is surrounded by a fence built of rough wood. The fence is 2 feet high, and the inside cannot be seen from the outside, and a very strong smell of realgar can be smelled. When they arrived, there happened to be a few handymen carrying bamboo cages containing live chickens. Wang Jie roughly counted them at a glance, and there were about 15 of them. This is the food for the viper, Jian Shu explained. Seeing this, Wang Jie estimated that raising the snake would require daily food expenses. At the same time, he secretly opened the eyes of the mingling, penetrated the visual barrier of the fence, and saw the snake raised inside the fence. It's just that in this area, there are 15 snakes, and the longest one is 6 meters. The energy in the body is comparable to that of a leather warrior. A meal includes a live chicken. It is really not easy to raise. Wang Jie appraised in his heart, and then they climbed up the fence to watch the 15 snakes eating by. Ordinary poultry are defenseless food in front of this vicious snake. The snake crawled extremely fast, almost like a streak of flying past the shadows, and the live chicken as food almost had no time to react, so it was killed by the snake, opened its mouth wide and swallowed it directly. The power of the asparagus is not low. Some vipers don't like to take a deep breath when they eat. They will choose to whip their prey with their tails, throwing it out like a sharp whip, and even sucking out the air with a crackling sound. Such a blow fell on the broiler chicken, and the feathers flew away in an instant. The live chicken wailed, lost all mobility, and fell sideways on the ground, unable to move. Then the viper was rather slow, and swallowed the food bit by bit. Boa snakes do not have the habit of chewing and swallowing slowly with their mouths. After swallowing food, the slender body of boa snakes can be seen to bulge. But the viper's muscles are very strong. Just by squeezing the muscles, it will crush the food bones in the esophagus, making a click sound, and you can also hear the wailing of living creatures. The living creature didn't move until it fell into the intestines and stomach, and the size of the abdomen decreased at a speed visible to the naked eye, and the digestion ability was evident. The feeding process of the snake is like this. In addition to live chickens, there are other feeds. Wang Jie found that the cook picked up a basket of grains and a basket of iron powder. Needless to say, grains are used as food supplements, and iron powder is another material for feeding cobras. Wang Jie can see right now that the scales of the vipers in the field are all pitch black. It is said that this kind of strange beast has a strong digestive power, and can digest and absorb metals and turn them into scales. And depending on the type of absorbing metal, the color of the scales is also different. If it is ordinary iron powder, the scales will appear black iron color, and if it is copper, it will be purple-red. If you want to feed it with higher-level secret mines, the color will naturally be different, but there are also requirements for the Snake King. At least it must be a Snake King that has been raised for more than 10 years, in order to digest the metal of the secret mine, and the scales grown out are stronger, sturdy. Natural good fortune is really miraculous, and this kind of creature is actually born. Standing on the high platform and watching, Wang Jie couldn't help but sigh with emotion. In addition to the 15 rat snakes, there are other areas in the farm where rat snakes for different purposes are cultivated in different areas. In the farm here, according to the needs, there are 3 types of breeding snakes. Beetle beetle, meat beetle, egg beetle. The beetle is specialized in producing scales. About every 1 to 2 years, the beetle will shed its skin, and the farm will specially feed a group of beetles with metal to make their slough hard and can be used to make snake scales. Wang Jie just saw 15 snakes, all of them were beetles, and then he visited other breeding areas led by Jian Shu. Beetles eat metals, and these metal elements will inevitably be found in their skin and flesh. Eating their meat may cause damage to the warrior's body and cause metal poisoning. That's why there are meat gnats. The meat gnats' diet will not be mixed with metal dust, and the farm will let them eat clean food and produce clean snake meat. After reaching a certain age, the meat will be slaughtered, skinned and deboned, and the meat will be chopped and cramped. It will be used as one of the secret ingredients of martial arts. The last one is the egg snake. They are all female snakes. They do not take the skin or meat, but only the eggs. The fertilized eggs are used to hatch new snakes, and the unfertilized eggs are used as secret food for martial arts. It can be said that this farm has fully developed the various functions of the snake. It can not only provide armor, but also serve as secret food for martial arts, and can also be used as medicine. Not only can it meet the needs of the development of martial arts in the Yu Kingdom, but it can also be sold abroad to earn foreign exchange. Asparagus snake is a major characteristic industry of Yu State. As the king of Yu, after Wang Jie knew about it, he inevitably had the idea of increasing production. However, considering that poultry is also needed to raise the snake, and a snake feeds a chicken every day, he knows that with the current productivity of the Yu country, it is impossible to achieve large-scale production. The local chickens raised in Yu country will take about 8 months at the earliest to be ready for slaughter. If this is replaced by the white-feathered chickens of my Langsing hometown, it will be ready for slaughter in 7 weeks. Will the scale of the snake industry be doubled several times? But after all, we still have to start agriculture first, so that we can have enough grain feed to support the development of the breeding industry. If agriculture wants to increase production, it needs chemical fertilizers. It just so happens that I have the idea of salvaging Jiaogu mud during this trip. Oh, besides Shanghu Lake, I also remember to use the Eye of Mingling to learn about the mineral resources of Yu State and see if there are other raw materials that can be used as fertilizers. Quote. Wang Jie's thoughts turned. As the king of Yu, he always thought of more. But all of these had to be done after he obtained his second doppelganger. Those mature snakes are not the purpose of my trip. My avatar must be an unborn embryo with intelligence. To put it simply, Wang Jie came to the farm for snake eggs. Vipers usually mate in late summer and lay eggs in early autumn, and hatching takes about 3 months. Wang Jie counted the time accurately, and coming to the farm at this time happened to be able to get snake eggs. Wang Jie informed Jian Shu of his request. Although Jian Shu also murmured in his heart that it was not good for His Highness to keep any pets, he had to keep this ferocious viper. But who called this the king of Yu? After Jian Shu mourned for the young minister for a moment or two, he said honestly. This year the snake laid eggs, and there were 2,132 eggs. When the old minister learned that His Highness needed them, he sealed up all the eggs and waited for His Highness to select them. The number of snake eggs sounds a lot at first glance, but as a strategic resource, besides hatching new snakes, the rest of the snake eggs can also be used as martial arts secret food or precious medicinal materials. The destination of each egg is arranged. Wang Jie also knows this. The snake eggs have the attribute of futures. The big and small forces at home and abroad made reservations in advance last year to take up the share of this year's snake eggs. After Jian Shu learned that Wang Jie had a demand, he delayed the delivery date a little, waiting for Wang Jie to pick the snake first. Wang Jie could see such a good attitude, he couldn't help being a little cold, and said bluntly, "Yi Township, who has a heart?" The two moved to the greenhouse where snake eggs were stored. Neatly arranged snake eggs were displayed in front of Wang Jie, each about the size of a goose egg. Moreover, the appearance of snake eggs is very peculiar, with rich colors and special lines, as well as unique texture. This is because asp snakes are omnivorous animals with a very wide range of diets, and even eat metals, so they produce the shells of snake eggs, and almost every snake egg is different. Some look like magnificent gemstones, even exuding brilliance. Some are like quail eggs, with a mixture of blue, gray and brown. Some are pinkish-white, similar to the color of ordinary chicken, duck and poultry eggs. But to an insider, these snake eggs are very valuable, comparable to gold of the same quality. Looking at these little treasures, Jian Shu couldn't help showing a smile, and explained as if introducing his favorite masterpiece. These 2,000 or so snake eggs can be divided into categories according to the color of the egg shells. After knowing that the snake fetus has broken out of the shell, it should be cultivated in the direction of beetle, meat beetle or egg beetle. I don't know which kind your highness wants to raise. A snake? Oh, is there such a thing about it? Let me hear it from the village master. Wang Jie frowned, listening to Jian Shu's explanation with great interest, and at the same time secretly opened the eyes of the mingling to observe each snake egg. Looking at its color, it has the color of golden iron, which is the egg of a beetle. This beetle often eats golden iron. It is unusual to give birth to scales, and the snake eggs it gives birth to are also unusual. The shell has the color of copper and iron, which is quite beautiful. Jian Li picked up a bronze-colored snake egg with metallic luster. This is the egg of the beetle, which is used to produce the scales of the snake. Then, Jian Shu picked up another blue-gray-brown snake egg. This is the egg of the scorpion. The scorpion is omnivorous. It can be fed to all poultry and pigs in the Cordyceps Valley. When I feed it, I will specially mix a kind of berry called green raspberry. After the scorpion uses it, the snake meat will be firm, with rich taste and more energy, and the snake eggs produced will also be dyed the color of green raspberry, which is easy to identify. At the end, Jian Shu picked up the white and pink snake eggs, shook his head this time and said, "These are the eggs of egg gnats. Most of them are dead eggs and cannot be hatched. Most of them are used as food or medicinal materials." Wang Jie heard the words, combined with the observation results of his eye of the spirit, and confirmed that the situation of these snake eggs was indeed as Jian Shu said. Seeing Jian Shu's ability to develop the snake breeding industry so clearly, Wang Jie couldn't help clapping his hands and praised. "It's a category of visual perception. I used to think that Yi Shanghu was a brave and good at fighting, and he was a rough man, but now it seems that Yi Shanghu is also a good at farming snakes and is well organized." "Okay, that's great. A gentleman is not a weapon, he covers everything, and he is talking about such a capable person as Yi Shanghu." Quote. Wang Jie didn't hesitate to praise him, and he didn't need money to say a few beautiful words. And Jian Shu caressed his beard lightly, and humbly said, "There, it's just a little thin." In fact, the corners of the mouth and beard are upturned, which is very useful. The conversation was just right. Wang Jie glanced at the 2,000 snake eggs, opened the eyes of the mingling secretly, looked at the state of all the snake eggs, and said in his heart, "If I want to choose, I will choose the best one, the one with the greatest potential." Shentong scanned, and after observing for a while, Wang Jie picked out a snake egg from it. Jian Shu looked at it, and saw that the snake egg was blue-gray, and it was the egg of a boa gnat, but it was no different from other boa gnat eggs in appearance. He didn't know Wang Jie's selection criteria, he just talked about the method of raising meat gnats. "If your highness wants to raise meat cobras, after the snake fetus breaks out of its shell, it will be fed with clean water for 3 days and immediately, and on the 4th day, when the young snakes start to actively forage, they can be fed chicken and duck egg whites once and immediately. After that, the juvenile skin will start to shed, and it should be placed in a cool and humid place, and every 3 days, it will be fed with mosquito larvae, poultry larvae, fish and shrimp. In my country of Yu, the climate is warm, and asparagus seldom hibernates. After a year, the asparagus begins to grow rapidly. It is fed once every 3 days, with poultry meat, grain offal, and green berries. Satisfaction shall prevail." Jian Shu is very familiar with the needs of different species of vipers at different stages of development, explaining almost everything in detail. Wang Jie is well aware of the breeding process. In fact, he wasn't too worried that he couldn't raise the cobra, because this was his second clone, himself. It's all for taking care of himself. Wang Jie can feel the cold, heat, hunger, thirst and exhaustion of the avatar all the time. And Jian Shu made a mistake. I don't plan to use ordinary food to feed my avatar, but use the best, martial arts secret food. Thinking of the martial arts secret food purchased from within, Wang Jie has the ambition to clone himself as a snake and become the strongest snake king ever. If Jian Shu knew what Wang Jie was thinking, he would be stunned, and probably would have to say, prodigal, in his heart. After all, this is just a meat pheasant that provides martial arts secret food. If it is fed with the same value or even higher value martial arts secret food, isn't that a prodigal behavior that is not worth the gain? However, only Wang Jie knows how much potential the snake egg he picked out has. The slate of Otherization Freedom emerges, presenting information. Descendants of the mountain beetle, with a thin trace of atavistic blood of the mountain beetle. Mountain gizzards, snakes coiling around mountains, drinking lakes and seas, entering the clouds, covering the sky and blocking out the sun, are ancient giant beasts. Slate can confirm that this viper egg meets the criteria for being a doppelganger. The detection ability of Wang Jie Mingling's eye and the slate can confirm that this snake egg is different from the same kind. A trace of the blood of the viper was the reason why Wang Jie picked this one out of more than 2,000 viper eggs. According to the description on the stone slab, this lizard is extremely large. Its body can wrap around mountains, and it can regard lakes and seas as drinking basins. The snake's head can reach into the clouds, and it can block the sun and cast a large shadow. It is a veritable giant beast. The stone slabs describe the gigantic size of the mountain gizzard. Just like its name, it is comparable to the volume of a mountain. And Wang Jie picked out this snake egg because during the birth process, some special changes happened, and there was a return to the ancestors, and there was a trace of the blood of the mountain snake. According to the information from the inside of the Eye of Mingling, I have developed this thin bloodline of the viper, so that the viper can continue to evolve, and even reach the level of the ancestor. Wang Jie's eyes narrowed slightly, and he couldn't help but imagine that his snake avatar had grown into the size of a mountain boa. I'm afraid that if you turn around casually, you can crush Emperor Zan's hundreds of thousands of troops. To have such a giant beast, not to mention 1,000 armies and horses, even a martial Dao Grand Master, or even a martial king who surpassed the realm of a martial Dao Grand Master, I am afraid that it cannot be avoided and it will be difficult for manpower to contend. The potential of this snake egg can be imagined, but Wang Jie also noticed one thing. According to the information given by the slate, the mountain beetle is just an ancient giant beast, while the stone-born monkey is a species of heaven and earth spirits and gods and demons. Judging the personality according to the name, the mountain beetle is still far inferior to the stone-born monkey. The stone-born monkey can turn around and move the stars, and manipulate the changes in the laws of heaven and earth. According to the description, the mountain gizzard is characterized by being big, and eating. However, regardless of the distance, the talent of the nearby one is focused on swallowing, and the ability to digest is extremely exaggerated. I can share it after turning it into a clone. Quote, the starting point of Wang Jie's creation of the snake clone is to help his own martial arts practice. The viper's talent in eating is enough to meet his needs. As for growing it into a mountain viper, Wang Jie is not very eager. Put the future avatar in the palm of your hand, it is now only the size of a palm. Seeing that His Highness finished choosing his pet, Jian Shu raised his hand and asked his servants to fetch a brocade box. The brocade box has a gorgeous appearance and is hollowed out, which is both beautiful and breathable. There is a silk cushion inside and a goose down base, which can also improve the protection of heat preservation. Wang Jie put the snake egg into the brocade box and accepted it. Now is not the time to turn it into a clone. Wang Jie checks his soul strength, it is currently 1.57. Kanjian provided the filthy air, allowing him to make rapid progress in cultivating his soul. And Wang Jie's plan is to make his soul strength exceed 2 standard units, and then split it up, turning the snake egg into his clone. Otherwise, the soul strength of his human body is lower than that of normal people, and there is a high probability that there will be problems. Wang Jie also estimated that the hatching time of snake eggs is about 3 months, and Wang Jie's mingling eye has the ability to pass change. He used to be able to accurately measure the growth cycle of grains. Now he can also see animals, accurately know the incubation process and the time required. After 3 months of incubation, about 2/3 of the progress, the embryo of the snake egg will spontaneously give birth to vague intelligence. Wang Jie just needs to turn it into his avatar before this time point. I have 2 months to increase the strength of my soul to 2 units. He planned secretly in his heart, and he was in a happy mood when the main purpose of this trip was achieved. Jian Shu also intended to entertain His Highness the King of Yu, so Wang Jie stayed here for a few days and tasted the characteristic, whole snake banquet. Meat gizzards are the staple food, snake soup, snake gallbladder, snake tendons, snake bones, and egg gizzards provide custard. This is the secret food of martial arts. After a few meals, Wang Jie felt that his body was extremely full of energy, and the efficiency of martial arts practice was greatly improved. It was just that after a few days of practice here, Jian Shu's arm strength reached 1390 catties, and the distance from crossing the threshold of 1500 was getting closer and closer. Getting closer. If I didn't have to go back to the capital as the King of Yu, I really want to live here until I achieve great martial arts before going out of the mountain. Wang Jie teased. Jian Shu's reception was very thorough, and he couldn't find any faults. It can be said that Wang Jie enjoyed the best treatment. Such an obvious kindness, Wang Jie also saw it in his eyes, remembered it in his heart, and secretly said, Yi Shanghu has shown me a lot of favors. He is a person who can be wooed, and I also want to develop the snake breeding industry, but after all, this is the first formal exchange, too much is too late, and I can't come up with anything special to make Yi Shanghu now. The benefit of the heart. He wanted to win Jian Shu over, but he had to think for a while about how to do it, and finally found a breakthrough. The hidden wounds in Jane's body. Wang Jie penetrated with the eyes of the mingling, and could see the large and small dark wounds deep in Jian Shu's body, which were left by the army and horse battles when the world was uncertain. The hidden injuries are basically concentrated in the internal organs. Jian Shu is a warrior in the blood-changing state. His control over the body goes deep into the blood vessel network, and ordinary trauma is not worth mentioning. Even missing arms and broken legs, as long as the broken limbs are intact and fresh, they can control the reconnection of flesh and bones. With good maintenance, at least 40% of the function of the limb before the severed limb can be restored. However, it is troublesome if the internal organs are left with hidden injuries. Before the internal organs are nourished, the internal organs are very fragile. If they are seriously injured, the injuries are basically irreversible. Wang Jie saw that Jian Shu's internal injuries were mainly in the lungs and spleen. These 2 hidden wounds are like 2 holes in the container, constantly leaking Jian Shu's warrior spirit, which not only prevents him from fully displaying his martial arts strength and improving his realm, but also accelerates his aging and continues to feel pain. On the surface, this veteran who is over 60 years old can chat and laugh happily with Wang Jie, but his inner distress may only be known to himself or those close to him. Healing Jian Shu's internal injury is a good breakthrough. Thinking about it this way, my pair of bright eyes can perfectly meet the needs of being a doctor. Coupled with my talent, it is not difficult for me to be a medical master. Wang Jie had an idea, and added another stroke to his future plan. Healing Jian Shu was in mind, and Wang Jie also promised Jian Shu on the surface that after returning to the capital, he would increase the resources invested in the breeding of snakes. This industry does have great prospects for development. Wang Jie is confident that he has the ability to know the weather. In the next 10 years, the country's finances will become more and more abundant. Jian Shu was also eagerly looking forward to being valued by the king, and secretly said in his heart, it was not in vain to entertain him so graciously. Choose the avatar, and you're done. After bidding farewell to Yi Township and leaving Lui Mountain, according to the schedule, Wang Jie rushed to Shang County unhurriedly and maintained the progress of his practice. When he arrived at the scheduled Shangxi County, his arm strength increased to 1410 catties, and his soul strength reached 1.74. It's still much faster to cultivate the soul, and the talent in the soul field is obviously stronger than the body field. Wang Jie commented. At the moment, he was in the inn in Shangxi County, and it happened to be raining, and it would take about 2 days before the rain stopped before he could go to dig mud on Shanghu Lake. And his escort also needs some time to prepare ships and tools. Wang Jie used the waiting time to practice. In terms of martial arts, I currently lack the talent of eating, which needs to be replenished by the snake, but in the realm of the soul, I have complete talents. I have a high-minded, four-elephant enlightenment law, that reflects the laws of the operation of heaven and earth, and with the characteristics of dual souls, and the residual sword provides plenty of filthy energy as food, the speed of progress is really fast. The first stage of this soul cultivation system is to strengthen the soul until the soul can leave the body for a short time and move between heaven and earth. Wang Jie recalled the description of the soul cultivating system in the Bāman Sutra. According to the interpretation and derivation of the Bāman Sutra, by the stone-born spirit monkey, the system of nourishing the soul should be refining essence to transform qi, refining qi to transform spirit, refining spirit to return to emptiness, and refining emptiness to combine Taoism. First the soul goes out of the body, then absorbs the power of nature, and finally uses the heaven and the earth as the body to manipulate the universe. The upper limit is very high, and it can reach the level of playing with the rules of the world. As far as I know, even the great power that a martial arts master can achieve is far from the realm of playing with the universe. From the current point of view, the upper limit of the soul cultivation system is higher than the upper limit of martial arts. I know that the creation of martial arts lies in the vast majority of the common people, from farming and weaving to work, up the mountain and down in the fields, sum up the methods of strengthening the body and comprehend them, and then introduce new ones from generation to generation, and this is the present, 6 realms of martial arts, except for the former martial king. The upper limit of martial Tao is the realm of nourishing viscera, and there are traces of this step-by-step improvement. But where did the soul cultivation system come from? The upper limit actually directly reaches the level of the law of heaven and earth. Quote, Wang Jie thought about it, and soon got a guess. Gods, demons, or other existences higher than human beings, like the stone-born monkeys, are born to know the laws of the universe and the laws of the earth. This spiritual cultivation method is probably left over from them, and it is proof of their existence. Involuntarily, Wang Jie thought of the matter that Emperor Qian sent people out to search for the fairy traces, and then thought of his own experience, and sighed slightly. I feel that I used to be like a frog in a well, only touching the tip of the iceberg of this world, and there are bigger and deeper things still hidden in the dark. There were a lot of thoughts in his heart, and Wang Jie didn't continue to practice until he calmed down. It's raining outside. He is still practicing 4 symbols enlightenment method. The practice process is to visualize in the sea of consciousness the scene of the heaven and the earth opening, the 4 phenomena revolving, and the thunder coming to the world. In the process of increasing the strength of the soul, if there is no external supply of resources, Wang Jie needs to transform the martial arts yang energy and the essence of the body into soul power, and practice soul cultivation at the expense of martial arts practice. But fortunately, he won the broken sword that concentrated the filthy energy, so he didn't have to worry about the issue of merit. With a slight movement of his mind, he controlled Yu Wang's luck, relaxed the suppression of Kanjian a little, and let the filthy air escape a little. Having already practiced for many times, he is familiar with it, and even because he is proficient, he can release more filthy air, and he will gain more each time he practices. Feeling the filthy air and the remnants of negative emotions invading his sea of consciousness, Wang Jie thought to himself. Compared to the amount of filthy qi I used to practice the 4-elephant enlightenment method, for the first time, this time it is 5 times as much as the first time. Wang Jie is not afraid of 5 times the amount, which means that his practice efficiency has increased by 5 times. The filthy air formed an army of tens of thousands of men in his sea of consciousness, full of evil spirits. And Wang Jie is in charge of the will of the world, manipulating the earth, sea, fire and wind, fighting with these tens of thousands of troops. And with the increase in the volume of the filthy air, these tens of thousands of troops actually have obvious spiritual wisdom, and they know how to arrange troops. Due to the changes of the times, the army formations, in order to resist various floods, land burials, fires and winds, various tricks of water repelling, ground suppression, flame extinguishing and wind stabilization have been evolved. Wang Jie evolved to resist the flood, suppress the surging earth dragon, suppress the raging fire, and stop the howling gale. They are also adapting to learning progress. With the same size, Wang Jie couldn't beat them a second time with the same trick. Sure enough, spiritual wisdom was born, and it can evolve independently. Wang Jie secretly said. This is a concentration of 50,000 dead souls and remnants. Among the 50,000 people, there must be people with outstanding talents in life. After their death, they will gather remnants and their talents will make this army of Yin soldiers also wise. By the way, the material of this remnant sword is Qingshan Bronze Mother. This is the sword of the king, the weapon of the master. Among those dead, there may be some who were martial arts masters and military generals in their lifetime. Such a character, in this world, is the darling of the era with amazing talent. It is really not surprising that they can have such a talent. Quote, "This is the observation result of Wang Jie, which made him amazed." But Wang Jie is not too worried, because in terms of talent, he has the talent of the seed of the stone-born monkey god and demon. This is already the existence of a genius in the sky. In any practice, there may be any unfavorable conditions that limit his practice efficiency, but it is definitely not the talent. In terms of the talent of learning and comprehending, Wang Jie has already stretched his limits. His learning ability is super strong, even stronger than the spiritual intelligence of the filthy air. No matter how advanced the Yin soldiers formed by the filthy Qi are, Wang Jie can understand the truth after a little thinking. Not only can he find flaws and break them, but he can also learn and use them for his own use. Repelling water, suppressing the ground, turning off the fire, and stabilizing the wind, right. Your stuff is very good, and it will be mine next. Wang Jie was not ashamed or worried by the counterattack at all. Instead, he eagerly accepted the challenge of the Yin soldiers, learned his own experience from their progress, and made himself stronger. Knowing the secrets of the Yin soldiers' formation, Wang Jie has a deep understanding, absorbing the experience of the Yin soldiers, gaining his own experience from the insights, accumulating bit by bit, and secretly making quantitative changes. After breaking through 5 rounds of the army formation, Wang Jie glanced at the slate, which showed that Wang Jie's current soul strength had reached 1.81. It's about to reach the standard for making a second clone. About a few days after I return to the palace, I can officially establish the snake egg as a clone. Wang Jie secretly said in his heart that this kind of hard work, no gain brings satisfaction, which makes him very useful. Seeing that it was still raining outside, Wang Jie planned to make persistent efforts and continue to practice. Because of his progress, the strength of his soul increased. Wang Jie was worried that the strength of the Yin soldiers was not enough, so this time he released more filthy aura to strengthen his opponents so that he could display more abilities to stimulate Wang Jie's own progress. Come on, for me, in the right competition, I will improve faster. Wang Jie gearing up. After a larger amount of filthy air poured into the sea of consciousness, Wang Jie's will evolved into heaven and earth, and turned into 4 images, and the earth, sea, fire, and wind were all him. However, this time, after increasing the dose, Wang Jie faintly felt something was wrong. The filthy air did not turn into tens of thousands of troops, but concentrated instead. All the filthy qi merged into one, revealing a human form. This person has white hair and blue skin, absolutely not the appearance of a normal person. His facial features are covered by a cloud of black air, wearing a helmet, only revealing a pair of pupilless eyes emitting blue light. Dressed in black broken armor and a dark red cloak, holding a banner in one hand and a black sword in the other. Wang Jie felt a little bit, and found that the sword held by this person was exactly the same as the broken sword that Wang Jie suppressed in reality. As for the banner in the other hand, on the waving black banner, the word, Gui, unexpectedly slowly appeared. The person transformed by the filthy qi, if you look at his clothes, he is the armor of a great general, and if you look at his flag, he is the big banner of the army. Could it be that this is the realm of the Gui Guo general who died in battle among the 50,000 dead bones? Quote. Wang Jie was surprised, and at this time, the unknown general raised the black sword in his hand. The broken sword pointed directly at the world. No words are needed, just this action makes it clear that this ghost general is challenging Wang Jie. Wang Jie's thoughts moved slightly, without the slightest panic. Under the suppression of King Yu's luck, his cultivation with filthy aura is controllable. As long as the situation is not right, he can completely suppress Qin Jian with all his strength, and use the will of the people to protect him. The soul interrupted the practice without any risk. Wang Jie has never liked to take risks when doing things, and he knew that he was just surprised by the appearance of the ghost general. When facing the challenge of the Ghost General, Wang Jie was eager to try. Okay, let's try. With a thought in his mind, Daihai Huafeng, which evolved from his spirit, moved. The earth's veins rushed towards the Ghost General like a tsunami. With such a majestic power, General Ghost's pupils pulsated with azure light, and then he held his sword and slashed through the rock tide. With this shot, Wang Jie can know that the strength of this Ghost General is stronger than the previous tens of thousands of troops combined. With temptation in mind, Wang Jie displayed the power of fire, geomantic omen one after another. However, General Ghost, with one man, one sword and one banner. Seeing that the fire was burning, General Ghost waved a banner, and Mo Dahai was collected into his black flag. Seeing the flood, General Ghost waved his big hand, and the filthy air surged out, turning into an army of tens of thousands, setting up shields to block the flood. Seeing the howling of the wind, when the General Ghost's banner is planted, the wind will calm the disaster. The tricks Wang Jie used before are no longer effective against this Ghost General. The Ghost General was even able to do a job with ease, and the flag was unfurled, and the word, Gui, on the flag was very provocative. Seeing this, Wang Jie commented in his heart. This filthy air is scattered like a cloud of loose sand, but when it gathers, it becomes such a Ghost General, and it becomes difficult to deal with. Wang Jie secretly clicked his tongue. His thoughts changed, and in the scene he visualized of the heaven and the earth being opened and the four phenomena coexisting, a golden thunder suddenly split and pierced the sky, and then a golden, huge, like double pupil eyes like the sun. These are Wang Jie's eyes. In his visualization world, he showed the ability of the eyes of the mingling. One of the golden pupils occupied most of the sky, and after it appeared, it looked down on the Ghost General. Under the pupils of the gods, everything is obscured and there is nothing to hide, and all shapes point directly to the source. The Ghost General's blue eyes danced like will-o'-the-wisps, and the flags were no longer fluttering. The appearance of the Eye of Mingling seems to give it a little sense of oppression. Wang Jie, on the other hand, relied on the power of the Eye of Mingling to gain insight into the details of General Ghost. This unscrupulous sense of visitation, the Ghost General did not let the eyes of the mingling look into it. It waved the flag, covered its figure with the flag, and thrust out a sword with its backhand. The filthy aura formed a sword aura, like an arrow shooting the sun, piercing the god's pupil in the sky. However, with a thought in Wang Jie's mind, before the sword energy arrived, a golden thunder fell from the sky and dispersed the sword energy. Immediately afterwards, Wang Jie once again controlled earth, sea, fire, wind and continued to attack General Ghost. Compared with the first round of probing, Wang Jie's method has improved again this time. He has learned from previous failures and integrated the original four elements. The four elements are no longer one by one, but together. The wind helps the fire burns the lava, the ground collapses and the water rises, and the water helps the wind whirl. The combination of the four images, the evolution of the heaven and the earth, has more and more the charm of ignorance, prehistoric, chaotic and intense. With such power and influence, General Ghost narrowed his gaze and became serious. Holding the flag and holding the sword, the essence of the filthy air is manifested around the body, and the breath is evolved into an army of 10,000 people. Although it was a formation of troops, the formation was quite different this time. It is not only tens of thousands of soldiers, but also a one-man general. The breath is connected to form an army, forming a small world indistinctly, resisting the power of the evolution of the four phenomena. Wang Jie's divine pupils turned into the sun and observed the Ghost General's methods in the sky. From time to time, a few golden thunders flashed, which was a symbol of his gain in thinking. Finally, the wind subsided, and the water receded. The obviously weaker filthy air reformed into the form of General Ghost. Its eyes dimmed a lot, the black armor on its body had more damage, the banner in its hand was no longer bright, and the word, Osmanthus, on it was more than half torn. The Ghost General was a little embarrassed, but his fighting spirit remained the same, and he didn't have the slightest intention of retreating, and his filthy aura was still full of aggressiveness. The black sword pointed directly at the divine pupil in the sky, wanting to compete with the master of this world. However, at this moment, the pupils in the sky slowly closed, and then retreated. General Ghost's eyes moved slightly, as if he was a little confused. Immediately afterwards, it saw the four phenomena that make up the world begin to change. Earth is bone, water as muscle, fire as blood, and wind as clothing. The combination of the 4 images slowly formed a human figure, with double golden pupils appearing in the center of the face. With a move of the hand, the thunder obeyed, and a sword was forged between lightning and flint. Wang Jie turned the 4 elephants into a body, held thunder as a sword, and revealed a pair of bright eyes, and appeared in front of the ghost general with such a posture. This is the art of transformation that he learned from the filthy Qi. The filthy Qi can evolve into an army of thousands, and can also evolve into a ghost general. Wang Jie used the eyes of the mingling to observe and gain insight into the mystery. On the basis of the 4 symbols enlightenment method, he developed the soul-body technique of 4-image transformation. This is all a trick to turn the filthy air into one's own use. It's good to have big, and it's good to have small. Sure enough, in this form, my soul power is more concentrated, the control of power is deeper, and the power that can be erupted is greater. Wang Jie understands the changes brought about by the 4-image transformation. Then, he looked at the ghost general in front of him, and he really felt the full benefits brought to him by the existence of the other party. Not only the filthy Qi can promote one's own practice, but also automatically perform techniques for oneself to learn and reference to improve. It's really good. When General Ghost saw Wang Jie in such a state, his eyes also became big, and he seemed a little stunned. It is from Wang Jie's methods that he can see some very familiar traces. Then it realized that this was clearly its own method. However, General Ghost didn't have much time to be amazed by Wang Jie's change, because Wang Jie had already raised the thunder sword against it. The best way to pay back to your opponent is to defeat it. Wang Jie held the sword of thunder and pointed it at the ghost general, and the earth, sea, fire and wind revolved in all directions. The ghost general also reacted, the fighting spirit surged, and the filthy air rolled, gathering in the broken sword in his hand. The two collide with each other. It is said that it is a fight between swords and swords, but in fact it is just a fight between 2 groups of spiritual thoughts. The filthy air contains the remnants of tens of thousands of dead bones in the Gui kingdom. This is a kind of spiritual power, an idea, and the external image is ghost general. Don't look at Wang Jie's evolution of earth, sea, fire and wind, driving thunder and lightning, but in fact they are just things he visualized, just his thoughts, and they are not real substances in essence, but just a form of spiritual power. Or, only when one reaches the state of refining the emptiness and harmonizing the Tao, the body integrates all things, replaces the mind of heaven with one's own heart, and the things imagined by thoughts will become real. Wang Jie's thoughts and the canyon represented by Ghost General are fighting each other. Wang Jie regards it as a trial, and uses it as food for continuous improvement. Possessing a part of the seed of gods and demons talent, Wang Jie will always improve faster than General Ghost. In addition to the home battle, fighting to the end, Wang Jie's thunder sword cut open the ghost general's body in one fell swoop, and the filthy aura was wiped out by the thunder, turning into the essence of yin energy that nourishes the soul. Wang Jie felt the growth of soul strength. At the same time, in reality, his eyes are open, showing a slightly confused expression. He looked at the broken sword wrapped in coarse cloth on his knee. At the moment of defeating Ghost General, Wang Jie felt that he had a little connection with this broken sword. And in his mind, there are still some fragments of memory fragments. As this, the memory of the former Gui country's national defense general. Chapter 51. When the country comes to invade, the last general, Le Guang, is willing to obey the king's order to deal with the country's disaster. He will lead 50,000 healthy men and never return until the enemy is defeated. Le Qing is loyal, but I can only rely on the king's sword to support each other. Seeing the sword is like seeing a king. I hope the general will return in triumph. There are some memory fragments in the sea of consciousness. In the picture, a strong and sharp general knelt down on one knee, and took a blue and precious sword with both hands from a middle-aged man in royal robes and a crown. This is Wang Jie's fragmentary memory obtained after killing General Ghost. Sure enough, as I guessed, that Ghost General was indeed a general of the Gui kingdom, and that dilapidated broken sword was indeed the sword of the king of Gui. Wang Jie recalled the details in the memory fragments. Although the picture was short, it was enough to support some guesses. It turns out that this Ghost General was called Le Guang when he was alive. When he was under house arrest in Kyoto in his early years, he also heard the name of this famous general. He is like a god of protecting the country. If he dies, the country will perish. He recalled with emotion, but later shook his head. No, the ghost general is not Le Guang, but has the memory and talent of Le Guang, as well as the filthy aura bred by the bones of 50,000 dead soldiers. This is another individual, not a resurrected one, but a copy. The body is a special kind of creature that resides on the broken sword. Wang Ji's eyes moved down, looking at the broken sword wrapped in coarse cloth on his knee. The moment he defeated General Ghost, he felt a little more connection with Kanjian. I seem to be able to slightly control the power of Kanjian. After realizing one or two things, Wang Ji let go of some luck suppression a little bit, and with a thought, he followed the extra connection, and drew a wisp of filthy air from the broken sword. This filthy air is not as aggressive as what Wang Ji has been exposed to before, but Wang Ji has a certain degree of control over it. Under the watchful eyes of Mingling, he controlled it with will, and this filthy air was like a silk thread swimming in the air. It was like a small swimmer's fingertips dancing with Wang Ji's thoughts. Snake. With a wave of Wang Singer, this filthy air shot out. This can be used to taint people. It's an uncomfortable feeling to be invaded by filthy air. The corners of Wang Ji's mouth rose slightly. His eyes of Mingling have already observed that this filthy air can indeed be manipulated by him. It seems that the ghost general should be the soul of Kanjian. As long as he fights with his thoughts and defeats its will, he can gain control of Kanjian. Wang Ji concluded. He just defeated a small part of the Ghost General's power, and most of the Ghost General's power was suppressed by Yu Wang's luck in the broken sword. The reason why I can only control so much filth is because I haven't defeated General Ghost's will. If I can do this, I will completely control Kanjian. Wang Ji concluded. The duel between him and the Ghost General was like this. Wang Ji defeated the opponent to occupy the opponent's power. Conversely, if General Ghost defeats Wang Ji, it will break Wang Ji's mind and erode his mind. This kind of duel in the spiritual field is extremely dangerous, but Wang Ji is very talented and has many guarantees to protect his body, so he can win the battle. At this moment, he unwrapped the coarse cloth wrapping the broken sword, revealing the sword body. This weapon, which was originally the sword of the king, is already in dire condition, with cracks all over its body. Its material is Qingshan copper mother, which should have a texture of blue light and precious color, but it is very dim at the moment. It had been shattered into hundreds of pieces decades ago, but driven by the filthy aura and the Ghost General's will, they were forcibly glued together into a sword shape. Wang Ji held the hilt of the sword, feeling the lines on it with his palm. Since the sword spirit is called Ghost General, then this sword should be called 10,000 Ghosts. This sword can indeed summon the remnants of tens of thousands of dead bones. His eyes looked at the blade of the Wan Gui. Under the gaze of the eyes of Mingling, a cold light flashed across the dark sword body, followed by a broken mirror-like sword body, a face with white hair and blue skin, no specific facial features but only a pair of blue eyes. This is the Ghost General, and it lives in the 10,000 Ghost Sword. Wang Ji narrowed his eyes slightly, and secretly said, "When I pulled out the sword back then, I didn't see the existence of the Ghost General. At that time, it was just a cloud of filthy air that was still in the state of gestation. It had a certain amount of spiritual wisdom, but it was more of an ignorant status. On the contrary, these days, I often absorb the filthy qi, use the method of nourishing the mind, and compete with the spiritual wisdom of the sword, which in turn promotes the enlightenment of the Ghost Sword's spiritual wisdom, and the Ghost General was born. I am progressing with the Myriad Ghost Sword, and the Myriad Ghost Sword also feels the pressure brought by me, and under the stimulation, it grows and evolves rapidly." Quote, "This is the difference between living things and dead things, which will actively change due to external stimuli." Wang Ji is moved by the wonder of life, but he is not too worried that the change of many ghosts will bring harm to himself. "My improvement speed is obviously faster than that of the 10,000 ghosts, and I can suppress it with luck. In addition, my daily practice is to extract its filthy energy, so that its origin will continue to weaken. It will continue to seize the control of the 10,000 ghosts, one will ebb and the other will grow, it will not be able to turn the sky." With a smile on the corner of Wang Ji's mouth, he stretched out his hand and groped for the crack on the sword with his fingertips. "It's a good artifact. After I really control it, it should be able to bring me a lot of help." The effect is no less than that of a blood-changing warrior. Wang Jie thought to himself. Wrapping 10,000 ghosts, again with coarse cloth, Wang Jie turned his head and looked at the sky outside the window again. This rain should stop in half a day, and there will be no rain for 5 days, which is a good day to salvage a large amount of mud from Shanghu Lake. Wang Jie nodded slightly, and continued to practice during the waiting period. The next morning, looking at the pattering rain in the sky, Wang Jie gradually frowned. Your Highness, the boat, cloth bag, and truck are all ready, and we can go to Shanghu Lake as soon as the rain stops, Yan Fei said. While waiting for the rain, these guards went to prepare the tools and manpower needed to salvage the mud and transport it back to the palace. Although Yan Fei couldn't figure out why Wang Jie had to come to Shanghu to dig lake mud, although Wang Jie himself explained that it was for farming, but the land needed for farming must be Shanghu silt. Yan Fei couldn't figure out the mystery, but a strange person like His Highness who peered into the sky, communicated with ghosts and gods, and exorcised evil spirits was not something ordinary people like them could guess at will. He just made corresponding preparations according to Wang Jie's requirements and waited for Wang Jie's order. However, there was one more thing that made Yan Fei feel puzzled. He muttered in his heart. Didn't Your Highness say last night that the sky is clear and the weather is clear and the wind is breezy? It's still raining. Yan Fei already regarded Wang Jie's weather forecast as something that was bound to happen, and he never suspected that Wang Jie's forecast would be wrong, so he was surprised that the rain hadn't stopped today. However, at this moment, Yan Fei looked at Wang Jie's expression, but found that the other's expression was gradually dignified. Yan Fei observed his words and expressions, his thoughts moved slightly, and asked. Your Highness, is there something wrong? Wang Jie stared straight at the sky, and there was a faint golden light circulating in his pupils, insight into the laws of heaven and earth. Hearing Yan Fei's question, he shook his head slightly and said. Today's weather is wrong, it shouldn't be raining. Wang Jie is confident that his eyes will not go wrong. The rain should have stopped today. This is what Wang Jie observed yesterday. However, the sky has changed. Gray rain. Wang Jie was in the attic, looking through the window at the Shanghu Lake shrouded in mist and rain. The rain is very quiet, revealing a little damp and cold, making people reluctant to go out of the house. In the eyes of mortals, it is just one of the thousands of scenery in the world. If there is a melancholy guest who is sad about parting, the misty rain may evoke the deepest sadness in his heart, stare blankly at the rain curtain, recall the past, and add a bit of gloomy poetic flavor. However, under the insight of Wang Jie's divine pupil, everything in the world has faded away from the superficial appearance, and presented in a more layered, law-operating way. This feeling, to Wang Jie, is like opening the hood of a car and seeing the sophisticated engine structure inside. He found that the changes in the celestial phenomena and the natural operation were disturbed, and the results were different from what Wang Jie observed yesterday. The rain that was supposed to stop today was actually extended for 5 days, and on the 4th day, there will be a heavy rain on a large scale. Affecting the laws of heaven and earth, this method is not something that can be done by ordinary things, at least martial arts masters are not capable of doing this. Wang Jie thought to himself. I watched the astronomical phenomena at Zixi last night, but there was a change at Maoshi today. It should be that something abnormal happened during this time period. With the experience of Jianping Pass, he immediately associated the astronomical phenomenon with some not-so-good things. Could it be another sign that something evil is about to be born? Thinking of this, Wang Jie frowned, turned his head and said to the people around him. Yanqing, since the rain continues, the matter of salvaging the silt should be postponed for a few days until the clouds disappear and the rain clears away, so we can start work again. Yan Fei was taken aback for a moment, his face turned embarrassed, and he reminded. Your Highness, according to the original itinerary plan, it is time to return to the palace around the 25th, but it is already the 27th day. If it is delayed any longer, the officials may complain. Hearing this, Wang Jie resisted the urge to roll his eyes. There is something wrong with being the king of Yu. He is the king of Yu, and he is an important cog in the operation of this country's machinery. If he is absent for too long, it will also affect the operation of other gears. However, the attitude is very firm. Gu's business hasn't been finished yet, how can he go back to the palace? He waved his hand and said. Thank you, Yanqing, send someone to inform the officials, and stay alone for a few days. Yan Fei was helpless, but who told this to be His Royal Highness? Arched. No, I will arrange it now. Yan Fei took the order, left the room, arranged for other attendants, and informed the corresponding officials of Wang Ji's change. After Wang Jie heard the sound of the door closing, he secretly said, "There is no one around, so you don't have to worry too much." Without restraint, the golden light in the depths of Wang Ji's pupils suddenly grew stronger, and the golden color quickly covered all of his pupils. A pair of black eyes completely turned into golden eyes, which is the performance of Wang Ji's full use of the eyes of the spirit. I'd like to see where it exists to engage in petty tricks on my land. At the same time, under Wang Ji's will, the clone of the stone-born spirit monkey in the palace of Yu opened its eyes again. The effect of the stone-born spirit monkey's body using the Eye of Brightness is much better than that of Wang Ji's human body. The gap between the two is like an astronomical telescope and an ordinary telescope. Thousands of miles away, the stone-born monkey can also see the celestial phenomena of Shanghu Lake, even more detailed and in-depth than what Wang Jie saw. Two pairs of eyes observed the celestial changes in Shanghu Lake together, looking for some places that were disturbed in the operation of the huge and complicated laws of heaven and earth. After observing for a quarter of an hour, Wang Jie frowned tightly. Sure enough, the celestial phenomenon has been disturbed by external forces, and there are traces of man-made. This is something Wang Jie can see, and what makes Wang Jie more concerned is that this kind of interference is very subtle and ingenious, as if using the ingenuity of one or two dials of gold to promote the changes in the celestial phenomena, so there is no difference left. Too many traces made it impossible for Wang Jie to follow the clues to find the source. It's as if a person, while Wang Jie was not paying attention, added a few strokes to the scroll of the sky. When Wang Jie noticed, this person had already hidden and hadn't left many clues. However, this celestial change is only limited to the vicinity of Shanghu Lake and Shaanxi County. This secret existence, if it intends to change the celestial phenomenon, then it must want to do something in this area. Wang Jie judged that this was the result of his observation with the stone-born monkey, and the astronomical anomaly was limited to this area. Then near Shanghu Lake, is there anything there? The moment this idea came up, Wang Ji's eyes suddenly fell to Shanghu. Squinting his eyes slightly, the light of his pupils pierced through the lake water, and he saw the existence buried in the depths. Could it be that your withered bones can also be a demon? Wang Jie narrowed his eyes slightly, and couldn't see anything unusual about the dragon bones at the bottom of the lake for a while, showing a confused expression. But then, he let out a soft snort, secretly said, "There are still too few clues. I don't know the details, so I can't make an effective judgment. After a few more days of observation, I have full confidence before deciding on specific actions." Wang Jie chose to wait and see what happened. At the same time, in order to prevent himself from noticing the changes in the sky again, Wang Jie also made arrangements. He has two bodies, 12 hours a day, one body stares at 6 hours, and the other body stares at the rest of the time. His main job is to monitor the sky and the bones of the lake bottom in Shanghu all weather without gaps. These are all key surveillance objects. Make sure that when the mutation happens again, you can discover it as soon as possible. With this arrangement, Wang Jie is like a patient hunter, waiting for the prey to appear. It was also because of the rotation system arrangement that Wang Jie did not delay his practice while waiting. It is not easy to practice martial arts in rainy days, so he took the 10,000 ghost sword and fought against the general ghost, sharpening his skills, strengthening his soul, and gradually gaining control of the 10,000 ghost sword. On the 31st day when Wang Jie was out of the palace, his soul strength reached 2.06, which has already met his plan to make a second clone. In addition, in the dozens of fights with the ghost general, Wang Jie gained control of a small part of the ghost sword by defeating the opponent time and time again. The specific performance is that among the original 103 fragments of the 10,000 ghost sword, the one at the tip of the sword, only a fragment the size of a little finger is controlled by Wang Jie. With a thought in Wang Jie's mind, this fragment broke away from the sword body, floated in the air without any external force, and then flew around Wang Jie's body in circles. And the speed is getting faster and faster, and finally the shape of the fragments can't be seen clearly, only the sharp whistling sound in the air can be heard. Wang Jie feels that he can control the flight of this fragment within a radius of 100 miles, and it is only with the impact of the fragment that it is easy to penetrate the martial artist in the meat training realm. As for warriors of higher realms, because Wang Jie himself is not of that realm, it is difficult to judge, but the most powerful part of the fragments lies in the filthy aura attached to them, which is something that erodes people's hearts. With a thought in Wang Jie's mind, this fragment released a filthy air, and it actually evolved into 3 ghostly soldiers. That is to say, the space in my room is limited. Otherwise, the upper limit of the evolution of yin soldiers should be around 300. Wang Jie secretly said. At the same time, because he has control of this fragment, he can easily absorb the yin energy on it in the future, and will not be attacked by the negative emotions of the dead. This sword is really not a mortal thing. It can actually do what the legendary sword fairy can do, beheading people hundreds of miles away with the sword. A smile appeared on Wang Jie's face, and then he looked at the remaining 102 fragments of the myriad ghost sword, and said with emotion in his heart. Fortunately, I discovered it in time. If I really want you to grow up, then I won't change the world if I cross the country. The ghost general's face appeared on the sword, its eyes were like wildfire, and it seemed to be annoyed that Wang Jie had taken away a small part of its body. The corner of Wang Jie's mouth raised, and at this moment, there was a knock on the door. Boom boom. After a while, Yan Fei's voice came from outside the door. Your Highness, there is a strange noise in your room. The sharp-eyed warrior at the blood-changing level heard the sound of the fragments flying and Wang Jie's steady breathing, so he asked by knocking on the door. When Wang Jie heard this, when he opened his palm, the fragments flew into his palm without making any sound. Then he replied to Yan Fei. It's okay, it's the Jiyu who is communicating with the Xian family, and the whistling sound is the Xian family's message to the Jiyu. Things that are difficult to explain are shirked to ghosts and gods. Yan Fei outside the door paused, and his tone returned to calm. I see. Well, I hope His Highness will rest earlier. When Wang Jie heard the words, a little smile appeared on his face, and he paid attention to the time. It was almost midnight, and he responded warmly. I know. The sound of Yan Fei's footsteps gradually faded away. At this time, a hoarse, gloomy, intermittent voice suddenly came from Wang Jie's mind. Fight again. Wang Jie looked down, and suddenly noticed that on the sword, General Ghost's face turned into specific facial features. His eyes are white with green pupils, his eyebrows are like sharp swords, his nose is straight, and his face is like a chiseled face. If a normal person has such facial features as a basis, he must be a masculine and handsome man. But the human face that emerged from the myriad ghost sword, with 2 strands of beard and hair falling down on both sides of the cheeks, stubble sobbing, is very unkempt, vicissitudes and melancholy. At the same time, her lips turned black, her hair was white and her skin was blue, and she looked like a ghost but not a human. It looked gloomy, looking straight at Wang Jie. The lips open and close, that is, it is talking to Wang Jie. Come, fight. Wang Jie raised his brows, and used the eyes of Mingling to see through the current situation of the ghost general, thinking. These days of deathmatch have stimulated your intelligence and made you grow rapidly. Now you have a specific image and a certain level of language expression. Every time Wang Jie defeats the ghost general, he will take away his ability to control the 1,000 ghosts. Under this pressure, the ghost general will spontaneously evolve, from the rough state of tens of thousands of troops at the beginning, to an individual, ghost general. Up to now, the spiritual wisdom has become more and more obvious, with a more concrete image. However, this evolution is allowed by Wang Jie, because in terms of talent, Wang Jie will always improve faster than General Ghost. No matter how much Ghost General evolves, Wang Jie can learn from it, turn it into his own use, win the battle again, take away more control of Wan Ghost Sword, create more pressure, and force Ghost General to continue to evolve. For Wang Jie, this is a virtuous circle. The two fight to the death, with the same resources, or under the condition that the gap does not exceed the acceptable limit, relying on exquisite skills and profound insights, they will fight for life and death. Wang Jie will limit each deathmatch, the amount of filthy energy that the Ghost General can use. During the duel in the spiritual realm, there was no decisive gap between the two in terms of size. Otherwise, there would be no point in fighting to the death. Wang Jie wanted to train himself, not really looking for death. And in the actual battle, the Ghost General's size is often about 30% to 40% higher than Wang Ji's, which is the advantage of the Ghost General. Wang Jie deliberately gave the Ghost General an advantage. He wanted to give himself some strength, but also to seduce the Ghost General to fight him. The Ghost General is intelligent, it has an IQ, it knows its own situation, it is being used as nourishment by Wang Jie, it is constantly absorbing its original power, and it keeps getting weaker. But it can't break free from the suppression of Yu Wang's luck at all, and if it can't break free, it will end in a matter of early death and late death. But Wang Jie gave it a chance to fight to the death with Wang Jie. Its bargaining chip is the control of Wang Guijian, while Wang Ji's bargaining chip is his own mind. Of course, if General Ghost felt that he couldn't defeat Wang Jie, he could also retract it into the 10,000 Ghost Sword, and just let out some leftovers of the filthy air, so that he could live as long as possible. Yu Wang Qian can only suppress it, but cannot pull it out of the sword. So Wang Jie wanted General Ghost to feel that he could beat him, give him an advantage, and make him dare to take the initiative to fight. Not to mention the 30% difference in body weight between the two sides during the deathmatch. Even the gangsters in the street understand that if they are faster, stronger, and have more weapons in their hands, the chances of winning in a fight will increase significantly. General Ghost has inherited the memory and talent of a great general, a martial arts master, and the country's top strategist and warrior. The difference in size is 30%. In his opinion, the advantage is really great. In terms of talent, when Li Guang was still alive, in his era, the people he valued were only a handful of people. In addition, the essence of filthy air is mixed with various extreme negative emotions such as unwillingness, anger, resentment, and the warlike psychology of General Ghost can be seen. But the result was that after 4 days of fighting to the death, General Ghost never beat Wang Jie even once, relying on his size advantage. No matter how it taps its potential and develops new tactics, Wang Jie can always be one step ahead of it, and then defeat it. In the past 4 days, not only did Ghost General fail to get any benefits, even part of the control of one Ghost Sword was taken away by Wang Jie. It is now like a gambler who has lost money. Confident in his ability, he wants to bet more chips and get back the money with interest from Wang Jie. Fight again. Fight again. Fight again. The Ghost General's voice was continuously transmitted to Wang Ji's sea of knowledge. Seeing General Ghost being so proactive, Wang Jie raised his lips and responded. Okay, then I will give you another one. In the middle of speaking, Wang Jie suddenly frowned. With a wave of his hand, King Yu's luck suppressed him and interrupted his communication with General Ghost. He actually suspended the fight to the death. Not only that, Wang Jie also walked to the window. Stretching his arms, he opened the window, and suddenly the howling wind, carrying raindrops, poured into the room. The temperature dropped a few points, and Wang Ji's sleeves fluttered with the wind. The wind and rain slapped on Wang Ji's face, and at this moment, a touch of gold appeared in his eyes, and he murmured. Finally waiting for you. When he was growing up through a fight to the death with the Ghost General, it was the stone-born spirit monkey who was watching the situation in the Shanghu area. And just now, the stone-born spirit monkey saw it, triggering changes in the celestial phenomena. Wang Jie looked out, looking at Shanghu Lake in the distance. At this moment, there was a heavy rain outside, and the sound was the noise of raindrops beating on roof tiles and wind whistling, and because it was midnight, the outside world was pitch black, and ordinary people could not notice what was happening in hidden corners. But Wang Jie saw it. His double golden pupils were like candles in the dark night, shining brightly, seeing through the darkness and rain, looking directly at the root of the anomaly. He saw that the place where the dragon bones were originally buried should have been dead silent, but the dragon bones that passively radiated energy toward Shanghu Lake to nourish the fish and shrimp began to move. The strands of essence seemed to be guided, and they spontaneously gathered into a ball, forming a spirit balloon, and began to float from the bottom of the lake to the surface of the lake. The strong wind and heavy rain outside made the surface of Shanghu Lake turbulent and restless. Fish and shrimps dived down to the deep water area to avoid the discomfort caused by the wind and rain. But the fine balloon went in the opposite direction, until the moment it came into contact with the lake, it even more miraculously borrowed the momentum of the wind and rain, and flew up to the clouds and the sky in one fell swoop. This is a means of using the laws of heaven and earth, or the kind of laws that are especially good at feng shui. It is very clever to use. Wang Ji's eyes of mingling could clearly see the movements of the fine balloon. Not only that, after the fine balloon flew into the clouds, it took the dark clouds as its body and turned into a long and narrow animal with 4 legs and 3 claws. Wang Ji took a closer look, and it was strikingly similar to the image of the evil dragon that he had spied once. Not only that, after the fine balloon was transformed into a cloud flood dragon, by means of clouds and rain, it even took advantage of the wind and rain to fly in the sky and head towards the west. Wang Ji stared at the movement route of Yunjiao, and he suddenly thought of that direction. If I remember correctly, in that direction is the mansion of the Chao family, a local wealthy family in Shaanxi County. Wang Ji saw that cloud flood dragon hovered over Chao's house after flying for a certain distance. Wang Ji kept his bright eyes and stared at the cloud dragon hovering over Chao's mansion. Look at it, 10 minutes. At the moment when the heavy rain stopped and the thick clouds dissipated, the cloud dragon had no form to rely on, and turned into nothing. Wang Ji looked at the direction in which Yunjiao dissipated, and the light in his eyes flickered. After a long time, he let out a cold tisk, and thought to himself, dead but not stiff as a demon. The world has really changed. Even this stuff that has turned into dry bones can be tricked out to become a demon. Wang Ji looked away from Chao's house. He can be sure that the target of the cloud flood dragon is the Chao family. Looking at the laws of heaven and earth with the eyes of the spirit, Wang Ji can now know that the changed celestial phenomenon, just after the heavy rain, is for the spirit of the dragon bones at the bottom of the lake to borrow from the heavens and the earth to transform into a cloud. Zhao flew out of Shanghu Lake and was able to go to Chao's house. What does this Shanghu Zhaogu want to do? The Chao family in Shaanxi is a famous local family. Is there anything coveted? Wang Ji's thoughts welled up. Before leaving the palace, Wang Ji asked Sikong Handang to investigate how many aristocratic families in Vietnam wanted to hook up with Daxuan through Zhong Yan. Among the several powerful families, there is the Chao family in Shaanxi. Among the court or local officials of the Yu Kingdom, there are quite a few officials who have a close relationship with the Chao family. To be honest, Wang Ji has not yet planned to take action against the aristocratic family. Based on the historical experience of his Blue Star hometown, the effective way to restrain the aristocratic family and strengthen centralization is to conduct imperial examinations, allowing the aristocratic family to compete with the poor family, and in the competition, it will evolve into 2 opposing sides. Party. As long as the king can grasp the contradiction between the 2 parties in the court, he can control the court. But at present, there are really no conditions for conducting imperial examinations. Wang Ji only wants to focus on improving himself first. When he has the absolute right to speak, promote system innovation and strengthen centralization, he will get twice the result with half the effort and greatly increase his luck. But right now, the dragon bones at the bottom of the lake are staring at the Chao family, Wang Ji thought to himself. This can't be left alone. Anything related to these gods and monsters will not be a trivial matter. His gaze shifted to Shanghu Lake. His expression was dignified before, but now he slowed down a little. Flood snakes walk in the water and use clouds to transform into shapes. Ha, how much ability do I have for you? It turns out that you are just lingering on your last breath. Wang Ji witnessed the whole process of Zhao bone transformation, flying up to the clouds with the eyes of Ming Ling. During this process, Zhao Jiyu exerted very little power, all relying on the help of heaven and earth. As far as Wang Ji observed with the eyes of Ming Ling, the energy used by the dragon bone to fly up to the clouds is not even comparable to the whole body of a bone training martial artist. This is already the limit of Zhaogu's ability. Compared with Wang Ji's glimpse of the power of evil Zhao, before his death, this Zhaogu is almost dying. Zhaogu only relied on his closeness to the laws of water and wind during his lifetime, and he used ingenuity, and it took 5 days of preparation to barely summon a heavy rain, which allowed him to leave the bottom of the lake for a very short time. That's all the power that this dragon bone can display at present. It's hard to cause any harm to me. Quote. This is where Wang Ji breathed a sigh of relief, but what he cares more about is, what is the purpose of flying to Chao's house with the help of the rain and the transformation of the dragon bone through the clouds? Wang Ji thought about it. but felt that some important clues were missing, and he couldn't figure out the key. I don't need to be too anxious. Now that I figure out who is behind the scenes, I have the initiative. Thinking of this, Wang Jie glanced at the sky. At this moment, there is no external interference in the sky, and there will be no rain for the next 5 days. Wang Jie fumbled with his fingertips for the piece of the myriad ghost sword that was less than the size of a thumb, and thoughts emerged in his mind. Since there are evil dragons making trouble, the dredging work will be postponed for a few days, and stability is the top priority, but we still have to go to Shanghu Lake more. No matter what the Dragon Bone wants to do, it must surround Shanghu Lake area. After making a decision, the next day, Wang Jie informed his followers. I don't want to salvage mud today. I just need to find a boatman. It's better to be ordinary. I just want to go boating on the lake. The 3 guards looked at each other, secretly complaining. This is not something that was arranged in the itinerary. It's going to be extravagant again. But Wang Jie insisted, I've already become the king of you, what's wrong with just wanting to play? The weather is so nice, can't I go out for a walk? Yan Fei was helpless, seeing Wang Jie's high spirits, he couldn't dissuade him, so he could only obey. That morning, Wang Jie appeared on the lake in a boat. He was sitting on the bow of the boat, with the 10,000 ghost sword on his back, a fishing rod in his hand, and the thin fishing line sank into the lake. Shanghu Lake has a girth of 800 miles, and its area is quite large. People in several counties and villages around rely on fishing and catching shrimps for their livelihood. It's autumn, which is a good time for shrimp paste and fish fat. When Wang Jie's boat was floating on the lake, he could see several fishing boats, large and small. Wang Jie had no intention of disturbing the livelihood of these fishermen, and according to the laws of the Yu state, the taxes on mountains, seas and lands belong to the king of Yu's internal funds, which means that the taxes paid by fishermen for fishing were filled into Wang Jie's small treasury. These fishing boats are all helping Wang Jie make money. While hanging his fishing rod, he was paying attention to the dragon bones at the bottom of the lake, and at the same time paying attention to these ordinary fishermen. People live and work in peace and contentment, and there is hope for life, that is the improvement of people's hearts and luck. Wang Jie could feel the source power of these common people, which gathered on him like a trickle, and became part of Yu Wang's luck. This made him feel very satisfied. At this time, a maid in simple green clothes came out of the cabin with a basket in her hand. As the guard, Yan Fei stood between the bow and the cabin, behind Wang Jie. As a blood-changing master, Yan Fei has a strong aura. When the maid walked up to him, she lowered her eyes timidly and didn't dare to look directly at him. It wasn't until Yan Fei nodded slightly that she breathed a sigh of relief, walked over the guards, and walked to the bow. That's where Wang Jie sat, the maid said softly and sweetly. Master Dian, this is the bait prepared by the cook, and Ninger put it here for you. Wang Jie glanced at it, and saw a rosy white hand with slender fingers, placing a basket of bait by his side. Wang Jie gave a soft, hum. Go back to the cabin and sit for a while. From the maid's ears, His Royal Highness's voice was clear and crisp, and his tone of voice was as warm as water, without the slightest domineering, making people feel like a spring breeze. But Nahi's words are rejected by others thousands of miles away. The maid hid some resentment in her heart until she returned to the cabin and there was no one around, then she held her chin and muttered silently. Ninger, Ninger, the sisters in the palace are all envious of you. You can have the opportunity to be alone with His Highness outside the palace. But why don't you have the eyes of His Highness? The maid puffed up her cheeks slightly. On the bow of the boat, Wang Jie was holding the fishing rod, blowing the breeze, fishing from morning to afternoon without rushing. He has caught 60 catties of Hunan mandarin fish, a specialty of Shanghu Lake. He has the ability to see through the eyes of the mingling. He knows exactly what fish are swimming in the lake, where the fish nests are, and whether they are biting the hook. It is impossible for the Air Force to be in the Air Force. Every catch will bring fish. And Wang Jie just waited like this, paying attention to the movements of the dragon bones at the bottom of the lake with his bright eyes. Wait. Until a Yi boat appeared on the lake. This is a boat used by rich and noble families, and the pattern of Yi bird will be painted on the bow. Not only that, the size of the hull is larger than that of ordinary fishing boats, and it has gorgeous decoration and thick wood. When the fishermen around saw the boat, they told each other, "This is Chow's boat, let's be careful not to run into it." The fishermen put off their livelihoods and took the initiative to avoid them. At the same time, Wang Jie, who was originally looking leisurely and elegant fishing, suddenly focused his eyes. The jiaogu at the bottom of the lake moved. Wang Jie held the fishing rod in his left hand and stood still, but his eyes were slightly narrowed, and a golden glow appeared in his pupils. Originally buried at the bottom of the lake, the dragon bones that were passively dissipating energy suddenly reacted. From Wang Jie's point of view, the huge, 100-meter-long, crystal-clear white jade skeleton began to gather a unique spirit in the skull. The spirit has aura, first gathered into a sphere the size of an apple, and then began to evolve into a head and a tail, with 4 limbs. Compared with the huge corpse, this is like a pocket-small dragon. With the skull as the fetus, it manifests itself with essence. The moment this little Zhao appeared, it was about to break away from the skull and swim outside. Wang Jie could see that this little Zhao was not as good as a muscle-changing martial artist in terms of the size of his energy, but the moment the little Zhao came into contact with the lake water, he used the lake water as his flesh and blood, the essence as the spine, which makes one's body bigger and stronger. It is 9 meters long, and its head is the size of a bull's head, turning into a water dragon. It molds its body with lake water. It is worthy of being a dragon beast that can make waves in its lifetime. It can have such a means. Wang Jie rubbed the fragments of the myriad ghost sword with his right hand while secretly observing. He restrained the deterrent power of his divine pupils to avoid alarming the other party. And after the water Zhao gained a bigger shape, it swam towards one direction as if it had a purpose. This Shu Zhao has lake water as its body, and it is as light as dust. If it is seen by naked mortal eyes, it will be a mass of flowing water, blending with the environment, and mortal eyes can't see anything magical. Therefore, the fishermen and boatmen around did not notice what happened underwater. At best, they noticed that the activities of some swimming fish were a bit unnatural, but they didn't know why. Wang Jie couldn't hold back, looked in the direction of the water dragon swimming, and noticed a rather imposing cruise ship. The eye of mingling sees through objects, and can directly see the appearance of the passengers and the color of their luck. She is full of luo qi, with good luck in the 5 youths, and a prominent local family. It is the Chao family in Shaanxi. Except for the court officials, Wang Jie didn't know the other Chao family members, but based on the clues he observed last night, he could connect what happened now. The swimming speed of the water Zhao was extremely fast. It almost swam 100 feet underwater in 10 breaths, and headed straight for Chao's boat. When they arrived at the lake below Chao's boat, Wang Jie saw that the water dragon began to consume the essence and energy it carried. Its size began to shrink, and at the same time, small waves began to appear in the originally calm Shanghu Lake. This flood beast is using its water control talent to stir up this Shanghu Lake. Through the appearance of things, Wang Jie saw the influence of the water dragon on the law of water. About 10 minutes or so, there will be a small splash of water at the location of the water dragon. Look at its method, is it trying to hit the people on the boat with the splash? Wang Jie kept thinking, guessing the purpose of Shui Jiao. And focus on the people on the boat. With the insight ability of the Eye of Mingling, Wang Jie saw that there were 12 people on board. There are only 2 female family members among them. The elders wear hairpins, and they are already married. Young people with long hair hanging down, 28 years old, cardamom virgin. The 2 of them are full of energy and blood, young and beautiful, both of them are dressed in high-quality silk and satin, with graceful manners. Then there is a young man who is about 15 or 16 years old, with half green and half white luck, and only in the realm of meat training. The others are either boatmen or guards, and the highest level of martial arts is only the bone training level. Although Wang Jie has clairvoyance, he does not have flying ears. However, he is gifted and has strong observation skills. He can see hundreds of meters away through the movement of other people's lips. The content of other people's language communication. Sister-in-law, why do you want to come to Shanghu Lake all of a sudden? The girl was wearing a lotus-colored double-breasted skirt, and she held the arms of the young woman beside her. Her eyes blinked like 2 crescent moons, and she asked in a sweet and delicate voice. The young woman was wearing a smoky embroidered skirt with a plain waist and a bright moon in her ears. Listening to the younger sister's question, the young woman showed a look of reminiscence, but her mouth was slightly vague. I just suddenly thought of getting some fresh air on the lake. A few days ago, it was menstruation and it was raining again, which made me very depressed. The young woman gently clutched her plump chest, but there was a little confusion in her beautiful peach eyes. The two female relatives walked towards the bow while chatting. While chatting, suddenly, the originally stable plank of the ship began to shake, and the amplitude became larger and larger. The two female family members were shocked, and their bodies shook for a while, and they couldn't even stand still. At the same time, watching everything from a distance, Wang Jie put down his fishing rod and raised his head. Yan Fei noticed that his attention was focused on Wang Jie, and his eyes showed the meaning of, "What do you want to order?" Wang Jie raised his finger and pointed to the direction of the Chow family's big ship hundreds of meters away, and ordered, "Tell the boatman to turn around and go in this direction. When we get to the big boat over there, let Chen He and Yi Yang go into the water and push the boat with all our strength to speed up." Wang Jie's order was so sudden that he didn't know the cause and effect, but Yan Fei heard Wang Jie's serious tone, so he didn't suspect him, so he immediately called Chen He and Yi Yang, and asked the boatman to act according to Wang Jie's order. Wang Jie got off the bow and walked back to the cabin. At this moment, the maid Ninger was dozing off with her chin resting on her chin, and there was still a trace of sparkle at the corner of her mouth. Feeling in a daze that someone had entered the cabin, she raised her head, but before she could see who was coming, two inexplicable, plopping, sounds came from her ears. "This is Chen He Yi Yang going into the water." After receiving the order, these two Yijin warriors who are good at water immediately launched into the water and swam to the stern according to the order. Then, with 4 hands, they pushed the boat towards the designated direction with a thrust of 20,000 jin. With the blessing of the warrior thrust engine, Wang Jie sitting in the cabin could actually feel a pushing back. Relying on his own martial arts cultivation, Wang Jie was able to stabilize his body during the change of direction and acceleration of the boat, but the maid Ninger was stunned. She leaned on her side, knocked her head and shoulders, and let out a wailing, "Ouch!" Wang Jie kept his eyes on the big boat of the Chow family in the water Jiao, 100 meters away. In the lake under the boat, the water dragon danced its body and brandished its minions. Its size was shrinking continuously, but the effect was brought about by the consumption of power. The movement of the flowing water was guided by its movements, and it evolved into a vortex, stirring the waves of the lake. On the lake, the Chow family's big boat was shaking more and more, until it tilted more than half a right angle. The lake exploded even more, and a big wave hit the bow of the boat. After a burst of terrified female screams, the young woman on the Chow family's big boat fell into the water. At the same time, a cold light flashed in Wang Jie's eyes. "Spread the right palm," revealing the fragments of myriad ghost sword. Wisps of black filthy air emerged from the fragments. The next moment, while everyone in the Chow family was terrified, the fragments flew towards the lake according to Wang Jie's will. "The young lady has fallen into the water. The young lady has fallen into the water." The moment the young woman of the Chow family was drawn into Shanghu Lake, the big boat of the Chow family exploded. All the boatmen and guards plunged into the lake and hurried down to save people. Although the girl from the Chow family who was chatting with the young woman of the Chow family earlier was not involved, she was still affected by the lake water, and most of her body was wet from the lake water. At this moment, the girl looked panic-stricken, and when she saw a young man in a lotus blue robe walking out of the boat, she hurriedly shouted at him. "Second brother, sister-in-law fell into the water, sister-in-law fell into the water." The second young master of the Chow family looked embarrassed. First he supported his younger sister and comforted him a little. Then he walked quickly to the bow of the boat, looked at the position where his sister-in-law fell into the water, and shouted a little anxiously. "Save people quickly, save people quickly, whoever can save my sister-in-law will be rewarded $10,000. If she can't be saved, everyone will be dealt with according to the law." After hearing this, the servants of Chow's family worked harder one by one. But the second young master of the Chow family stretched out half of his body to look at the lake, but half a minute later, the people who entered the water still hadn't rescued his sister-in-law. The second young master was afraid that something might happen to his sister-in-law, so he looked left and right, saw the boatmen fishing nearby, and hurriedly shouted. Call all the boatmen around here to save people, my Chow family will reward you a lot. The second young master ordered, and the servants obeyed immediately. The surrounding fishing boats all knew about TNK, the young wife of the Chow family, and responded one after another. At the same time, after looking around, I happened to see a small fishing boat approaching Chow's big boat, and the servant shouted. The boatman over there, my young wife fell into the water, please save her, and after the incident, my young master will reward you. Wang Jie on the boat heard this sentence. As a blood-changing martial artist, Yan Fei, who has keen hearing, also heard it, and he asked Wang Jie. Your Highness, stop the boat and let Yi Yang and Chen He save people. Wang Jie said simply. Yan Fei nodded, puffed up his chest, and shouted towards the stern of the ship. Yi Yang and Chen He, who were pushing the boat, heard the order, and after stabilizing the boat, they swam towards the depths of the water. And Yan Fei sat beside Wang Jie and didn't go anywhere. This was self-cultivation as a personal bodyguard. With a blood-changing warrior protecting his body, Wang Jie can relax his mind and focus on manipulating the fragments of the 10,000 ghost sword. His eyes of mingling penetrated into the underwater situation, and his mind manipulated the fragments into the lake. Wang Jie saw that the moment the young woman from Chow's family fell into the water, the water dragon of Shanghu Lake controlled the current, engulfed the woman's body, and dragged her into the water. The young woman was also a bit watery, and instinctively wanted to save herself, but the water dragon controlled the water flow like a rope, making her efforts useless, and she could only continue to sink into the water. Moreover, the water flood moved extremely fast. No matter how hard the servants of the Chow family went into the water to save people after knowing it, no matter how hard they worked, they could never keep up with the speed at which their young wife sank. Seeing this, the servants who rescued people were anxious and frightened. Many of them have dealt with Shanghu Lake since they were young. They are very good at water and even have a certain level of martial arts. Logically speaking, this person should not sink so fast when he falls into the water, but they can't catch up. They can only watch seeing the young lady sinking deeper and deeper. The light in the lake became darker and darker, as if being swallowed by darkness. Fortunately, among these servants there are also warriors of the Iron Bone realm, whose hands and feet are stronger than 1,000 catties. The thrust is so strong when they paddle, it is like a sharp arrow sent straight to swim towards the young lady who fell into the water. However, just as the bone practitioner was about to catch up, the surrounding water suddenly changed, as if turning into countless pairs of small hands, pushing him hard and not letting him come over. The bone practitioner was extremely impatient, and desperately wanted to go downstream, bursting out with more strength, to resist the strange thrust of the water. But this underwater is not the ground after all. Martial arts have not reached a certain level, and it is difficult to exert all their strength like on the ground, and they cannot breathe underwater. Bone-level warriors have limited skills in inhaling qi, so they can only hold their breath, in one breath. The more this bone-training martial artist worked hard, the faster the energy in his chest was consumed. A bone practitioner has limited stamina. With the consumption of energy, he can use his strength to reach a peak and then start to slide continuously. However, the thrust of the strange water flow remains undiminished, and he has never been able to touch his young wife. Just when this bone practitioner was feeling desperate, there was a sudden wave of water above him. Relying on the induction of the water flow, the bone practitioner realm warrior knew that someone from above was coming, and they were swimming extremely fast. 1 second before, he felt the fluctuation of the water flow, and the next second, the bone-training martial artist saw 2 figures passing him and swimming towards the young lady. Bone-training realm warriors were pleasantly surprised. Fortunately, the young lady was saved. What was surprising was that the speed of these 2 people swimming was so fast, far better than that of a bone-training level warrior like myself. In addition, when the 2 were swimming, their bodies were like fish wagging their tails. With extraordinary body flexibility, they made extremely smooth movements, pushing their bodies and dissolving the resistance of the water. Sparrows don't fly. Water doesn't hold back. Open up the big tendons of the whole body, melt through the flesh and bones, and easily transform the tendons into strength. Yi Jin. This is Yi Jin warrior. The bone-training martial artist was horrified, and wondered to himself where did this muscle-yielding martial artist come from. In the army, muscle-changing fighters are school officers, and in Zhonghu, muscle-changing fighters are top-notch masters. Right now, two pop up out of nowhere. However, the bone-training martial artist didn't think much about the identities of these two people. He found that after the muscle-changing martial artist appeared, the strange resistance of the water he received was greatly reduced. He can finally swim down. But at the same time, he also noticed that the swimming speed of the two tendon-yielding warriors had suddenly slowed down a lot, as if they had suddenly encountered great resistance. It seemed that there was always an external force preventing these rescuers from reaching Mrs. Chow's family. Strange. That's weird. Bone-training martial artists have never experienced such a strange thing. But he didn't dare to procrastinate, he just felt that the pressure dropped sharply, and he had to dive down to save people. There are three people sharing the strange resistance of the water flow. Especially Yi Yang and Chen He, as warriors in the changing muscle realm. The most special part of this realm is that they can integrate the power of the muscle, bone and skin, of the whole body. Before Yi Jin, the strength of the body was relatively scattered. There were more than 600 muscles in the whole body, but they could not concentrate the strength. If you want to exert more power, you must use special postures to mobilize more muscle power. For example, kicking is generally twice as powerful as punching, because kicking can mobilize more muscle groups than boxing, so it is more powerful. However, after completing Yijin, there is no such difference. The muscles and tendons of the human body connect the muscles, skin, membranes and bones of the whole body to form a set of power transmission network. Mastering is more delicate and precise. The underwater environment will not restrict Yijin warriors from exerting their strength, and Yi Yang and Chen He are selected warriors who are extremely good at water. While rescuing people, they also keenly sensed that the water flow was abnormal. There is a strange force hindering. The two realized that people who could cultivate to the state of Yijin are not idiots, they both sensed that something was wrong. However, it's not that these two have never seen the world. 10 days ago, the two of them went through the mass grave at Jianping Pass with His Highness, and saw even more weird and terrifying scenes. Thinking of His Highness's seeming half-hearted these days, every time he thinks about it, he always thinks about it, which completely deviates from the original plan. The two suddenly had a little understanding in their hearts, and secretly said, "Your Majesty's every move really has a deep meaning. The arrangement these days may be a preparation for today's event." They didn't have much to fear, since the master knew it well, they just followed the arrangement. Go all out to fight against the strange resistance of the water flow. With two tendon-changing and one bone-training fighters fighting against each other, the strange current seemed to be stretched, unable to expel these three at the same time. The three of them got closer and closer to the young wife of the Chow family who fell into the water. At this moment, the three of them suddenly noticed that they seemed to be approaching the bottom of the lake. The deepest part of Shanghu Lake is 50 meters, and the young woman of Chow's family sank surprisingly fast. Since she fell into the water, she has almost bottomed out. It's at the bottom of the lake, it's impossible to sink, right? The three of them were aware of this, and they also considered that Mrs. Chow's young lady was a woman, and if she drowned like this, her life might be lost if she dragged on. The three of them stepped forward quickly, and they could already see Mrs. Chow's young lady staying at the bottom of the lake, with her hair disheveled and silk clothes floating upwards like water plants under the buoyancy of the lake. Her face was pale, but she didn't have much expression, her eyes were slightly narrowed, and there was no air bubbles coming out of her mouth and nose, nor was she struggling, as if she had fallen asleep, and her appearance was indescribably weird. But fortunately, she finally stopped sinking and stayed at that position. The distance between the rescuer and the rescued quickly shortened, and the three warriors fought against the resistance, neither fast nor slow but continued to approach. Until the distance between the two sides was less than half a meter, and one step forward could touch Mrs. Chow's young lady. Chen He and Yi Yang's thoughts moved slightly, and an inexplicable feeling of palpitation came to their hearts. "I feel a little wrong." But before they could react, an extremely angry hissing and roaring sound came from their ears. This roar seems to be able to penetrate the consciousness, break into the mind like a flood, and wash away all thoughts and ideas. The minds of Chen He and the others went blank for a moment, and the three of them were in a trance. For a moment, they seemed to be coiled on the young wife of the Chow family, a slender beast with white belly, black scales, 4 legs and 3 claws. It was this strange beast that was opening its mouth wide and roaring at the three of them. A strong impact shook their spirits. Coldness, fear, brutality and powerful deterrence calmed their minds. But this impact is only maintained for a moment. The next moment, the three of them felt a warm feeling from the bottom of their hearts, dispelling their fear. Vigorously supporting their minds, they have strong mental resistance. The three of them vaguely heard that there seemed to be thousands of people saying words of praise and love. It was this kind of positive voice that allowed them to suppress the roar of the surly beast. Chen He and Yi Yang quickly realized that this familiar feeling instantly reminded them of their experience at Jianping Pass. "It's your highness." At the same time, Wang Jie on the lake relaxed his frown, as if the question he had been puzzled for a long time finally got the answer. "Hey, it's your idea to get pregnant by taking advantage of your belly." His bright eyes saw that the water dragon, transformed from the essence of the dragon bone, after dragging the target into the bottom of the water, turned into a snake coiled on a pillar, wanting to help yin and yang, and use the human body to do heavy work. "Tisk, I'm really going to let you get away with it." 20 years later, will there be another evildoer in the territory of King Yu? Wang Ji's thoughts turned, and he knew that this evil animal must not be allowed to succeed. With a thought, Yu Wang's luck covered the three rescuers underwater, dispelling the mental threat of the water dragon. Chen He and the others lifted their spirits, their courage continued to emerge, and they knew that it was His Highness who was helping them. With a boost of energy, he pushed forward violently. Both Chen He and Yi Yang wanted to reach Mrs. Chow's hand. But the water dragon's abdominal pregnancy is not over yet, it howls angrily. Shu Jiao, a strange life that evolved from the bones of alien beasts, is also very perceptive. It can even see the luck of protecting Chen He and others to surpass the king, and following the traces of luck, it found Wang Jie on the lake. But Wang Jie is really far away from it, and Shui Jiao can't affect Wang Jie immediately. And more importantly right now, the mother body it chose will be taken away by two tendon-changing warriors, which is something that Shui Jiao cannot tolerate. The mental attack couldn't work. While maintaining the process of borrowing the fetus, the water jelly was consuming the essence and energy it carried, agitating the surrounding water, trying to push the two of them away. But the strength of the warriors in Yijinjing is so great. In a short burst, the strength of the two of them exceeded 10,000 catties in an instant. With such force, the water flood is hard to stop. As a last resort, the water flood dragon could only consume more power, its size suddenly shrank, and its length was shortened to 1 meter. The surrounding water flow was also commanded, and suddenly exploded with greater force. Chen He and Yi Yang seemed to hit a wall, and there was an extremely dull and heavy impact sound even under the quiet water. The strength of the two tendon-yielding warriors was completely blocked. Not only that, the water flow converged with a flick of its tail, like a chariot rushing towards the city, pushing the two of them far away against their chests. This also included the weaker trainee as a bone realm warrior. Let these people never interfere with your good deeds for a while. After doing all this, the extremely shrunken body of the water Jiao already showed signs of collapsing. It was originally a group of jellyfish bones with the help of the lake water, and when the energy was exhausted, its form would not exist. From dragging Mrs. Chow's family into the water, to hindering the interference of outsiders, a lot of energy has been consumed. Shu Jiao must complete the last step. Its slender dragon body coiled around the mother's body, and began to dip into the mother's belly little by little. An abnormal blush gradually appeared on the face of Mrs. Chow's young lady, and her eyes were dull, revealing a little confusion. In the hallucination after drowning, Mrs. Chow's young lady felt that she had come to a lake shrouded in mist. As she approached, a huge figure emerged from the lake. It was tens of feet high just out of the water, and the mist covering this huge monster began to dissipate, and it approached Mrs. Chow's young lady. TNK, a young woman from the Chow family, stared blankly at all this. She couldn't feel any thoughts, and didn't know what she should do. She felt that she was frozen in place, her spirit became dull, and she unconsciously waited for the giant beast to approach. In reality, a phantom of a giant flood dragon emerged on the body of the young woman TNK, transforming from nothingness to solidity. At this moment, the black light cut through the water flow. With a gloomy atmosphere, the fragments of the myriad ghost sword, which had been following Chen He and others in the dark, appeared. The water dragon who was busy with conceiving seemed to feel a great threat, and the phantom of the giant dragon roared towards the fragments of the 10,000 ghost sword. Who are you scaring? Pretentious. Wang Jie on the lake smiled slightly. His eyes of the mingling could clearly see what was going on with the water flood. Waiting for this time, the ability of the 10,000 ghost sword was activated, and the fragments emitted a large amount of filth, surrounding Mrs. Chow's young lady. The phantom of the giant dragon looked around, and found that the filthy aura had evolved into a yin soldier, and there were 300 people at a glance. The giant dragon roared, wanting to resist these yin soldiers, but don't forget that it had consumed a lot of energy to deal with Chen He and others, and during the process of abdominal pregnancy, its body had already begun to combine with Mrs. Chow's young lady. At this moment, it happens to be in a state of no up, no down. It can't get out of the mother's body, and it hasn't finished conceiving yet, so it can't use any strength to deal with these yin soldiers. The yin soldiers manifested their weapons and flags, and the word, "you," suddenly appeared on the big flag of the military flag, and they even held spears and stabbed fiercely at the phantom of the giant dragon. The extremely negative spirit of the filthy air instantly impacted the phantom of the giant dragon. The phantom swayed for a while, and the process of transformation was interrupted. The yin soldiers took out their grapples to catch the net, pierced the giant dragon's body, and pulled it from the outside. 300 yin soldiers worked together in a division of labor, methodically assassinating and capturing the giant flood dragon phantom. As the behind-the-scenes instigator, Wang Jie skillfully manipulated these soldiers and horses, which he learned in the process of fighting against General Ghost. As much skill as General Ghost has, Wang Jie can use as much power. It was only the first actual combat, and he was able to skillfully control these yin soldiers and display extremely strong combat power. The giant dragon phantom wanted to bite and cull these yin soldiers. But the opportunity for Wang Jie to join was just too good, and he just took advantage of the opponent's bad state to strike. When the giant flood dragon Xiang was angry, he was tired of dealing with it. In the hallucination of TNK, the young wife of the Chow family, she was like a marionette, waiting numbly for the approach of the giant dragon. But at a certain moment, her dazed mind suddenly regained a bit of sobriety, like warm wind blowing away the cold miasma. TNK was stunned. At the same time, there was a cry of killing golden horses and iron horses in her ears, and an army of hundreds of people holding the "U" flag appeared, crossed her side, and killed the giant beast in the mist. The giant beast roared angrily, and the illusion was completely broken. At the bottom of the lake, Mrs. Chow's young lady opened her eyes, and after regaining her senses, she found herself underwater. At a loss, she quickly thrashed her limbs in horror. The underwater light was very dim, and she couldn't see the surroundings clearly. It just felt like there were water plants, or something wrapping around her body, making her unable to move. Iron colliding, strange and intense sound. All this makes people feel panic. Fortunately, the panic was only short-lived, and for no reason, a warm feeling suddenly appeared in the heart of the young woman of the Chow family. She raised her head, and vaguely felt that there was a stalwart voice above the lake that was comforting and encouraging her. This stopped her panic and brought up the courage to regain her composure and re-examine and analyze the situation she was in. Feeling something coiled around her lower abdomen, she stretched out her hand to grab it, but she didn't know what slippery thing she caught, it was too dark around. But when she pulled hard, there was still an extremely violent roar in her ears, but fortunately, the encouraging power continued on her body, so TNK was not frightened. She gritted her teeth, knowing that it was a bad thing, and exerted all her strength to pull it out. As TNK worked hard, the roaring and fighting sounds in his ears became more intense. Until a certain moment, TNK felt lightened by his body, and the things that restrained him were torn off. At the same time, in the ear, the roar of the manic giant beast also turned into a whine. TNK no longer felt restrained, and paddled her limbs, which were almost exhausted, desperately trying to swim upstream. She is a woman with average martial arts cultivation, but fortunately she was retreated before. Chen He and others rushed back at this moment, found Mrs. Chow's young lady, and hurriedly dragged her upstream. On the surface of the lake, Wang Jie saw the battle at the bottom of the lake through the eyes of Ming Ling. After cutting off the connection between the giant Zhaoying and TNK, the giant Zhaoying was seriously injured and extremely tired. Wang Jie took advantage of its illness to kill it, and 300 Yin soldiers rushed forward, completely tearing the phantom of the giant flood dragon into pieces. After the phantom was shattered, a lot of energy scattered around, and under Wang Jie's gaze, the energy combined into an irregular lens. At the same time, Wang Jie narrowed his eyes slightly, and realized that he had acquired a knowledge memory. Spiritual Beasts Breathing Method, Great Jiao Shape Training Technique, Picture of Dispelling Clouds and Distributing Ra'an. Is this the technique that the giant dragon is going to practice after reincarnated as an adult? The foul air overwhelmed the consciousness of the phantom of the giant flood dragon, and Wang Jie's 300 Yin soldiers rushed forward and tore it into pieces. During this process, the Yin soldiers obtained each other's memory from the wisdom of the giant dragon phantom. Hee, you actually exploded gold coins for me. Wang Jie pursed his lips, and the corners of his mouth couldn't stop rising. As the master of Yin soldiers, Wang Jie also received these memories, and he made an interpretation. This, Great Jiao Forming Technique, is a martial arts technique for body training. There are 4.5 chapters in total. These 4 chapters correspond to the first 4 realms of martial arts, and can be practiced on the human body. Cultivation, and after successful cultivation, there are few opponents in the same realm. The last half of the article is Jiao Shui, which corresponds to the martial arts exchange blood realm. This article is not complete, because the practice requirement is to take the bone marrow blood of the Jiao, and gradually replace the human blood in the practitioner's body. Only in this way can the blood exchange realm be completed practice. After completing the dragon blood cultivation, the warrior's physique will be extremely strong, and the physical cultivation potential is immeasurable. And the bone marrow and blood of this dragon, in my country of Yu, should only be found in the 100-meter dragon bone under Shanghu Lake, right? Quote, the body training method of Big Jiao Shape Training Technique will be used as Su Wei, after the evil dragon is reincarnated as an adult, guiding the reincarnated Jiao people to practice martial arts step by step until they change blood and return to Hunan. Retrieve the bones and blood from the lake, complete the practice of exchanging blood, and then break through to the realm of martial arts masters. Just by reading this martial arts technique, Wang Jie can deduce the training arrangement of this evil dragon after reincarnation. Ambition is not small, tisk tisk. A cold look flashed in Wang Jie's eyes, and then he heaved a sigh of relief. Fortunately, it was discovered in time, hee. In addition to practicing the shape, there is also a method of nourishing the soul system that Wang Jie is familiar with, called Picture of Dispelling Clouds and Spreading Rain. This is a method of nourishing the soul by visualizing the scene between the sky and the earth, the flow of clouds and water, and the rush of wind and rain. And in this exercise, what Wang Jie is particularly concerned about is that there is actually a more detailed description of the soul cultivation system. Strengthening the soul, coming out of the shell, transforming form, merging thoughts, psychic powers, and dissolving corpses, these are the 6 realms of nourishing the soul, and in the future it will be the realm of gods, demons and immortals. This is the knowledge of soul cultivation that Wang Jie obtained from the giant Jiao phantom. It is no longer a general practice of refining essence to transform qi, refining qi to transform spirit, refining spirit to reverse emptiness, and refining emptiness to combine Taoism. The first level is strong soul, which nourishes the soul through soul-nourishing exercises until the soul is strong enough to leave the body for a short time and then reaches the out-of-shell state. The soul in the hatching stage can drive things away, create illusions, and possess some small animals. When the soul becomes stronger, it will enter the stage of transformation, where the body can be manifested, the attack power will be greatly improved, and the soul will be more tenacious. This is the first 3 realms, and when it reaches the realm of integrated thoughts, the 3 souls and 7 souls are all fused into pure thoughts, and there is no longer a distinction between souls and souls, which can be called divine souls. And the soul can be split, as long as there are enough thoughts, a person's soul can be split into multiple units, and the effect of scattering beings into soldiers can be achieved. At the 5th level, it is Tongshan. The power of the soul is so powerful that it can already sense the laws of heaven and earth, and use the power of laws to display some Taoism. Finally, there is the 6th state, corpse dissection. At this time, the soul can completely separate from the body and exist independently. As long as there are enough nutrients to supplement the consumption of the soul, the soul can exist for 300 years, and it can even be reincarnated, the world. Wang Jie savored the knowledge left by the phantom of the giant flood dragon, and said with a little emotion in his heart. Compared to the rough description of the soul-raising system in the Bāman Sutra, the information provided by this evil dragon is more detailed. The effect of each realm is clear. It really is a monster that can cause disasters hundreds of years ago. It has a lot of knowledge. Picture of dispelling clouds and distributing rain is the method of cultivating the soul, and it is still 4.5 chapters. After reaching the 5th realm of Tongshan, one needs to obtain the flood soul in order to make a breakthrough. And this dragon soul is probably also inside the 100-meter dragon bone. It seems that this evil dragon has arranged his own corpse properly. In its plan, after being reincarnated as a Jiaoran, it will perfectly inherit the power left over from its own bones. The abacus jingled, but it was a pity that I cut it off. Quote. Wang Jie couldn't stop the smile on his face, and Yan Fei, who was guarding beside him, also noticed this. From the moment the young woman of the Chao family fell into the water, Wang Jie frowned, which made Yan Fei vaguely realize that something important had happened. This made him quite worried as a guard, but at this moment Wang Jie's brows relaxed, obviously the matter was resolved, and Yan Fei also heaved a sigh of relief. At this time, I heard a sound from the stern of the boat again. It was Chen He and Yi Yang who rescued people up. Without being asked by others, Wang Jie said, Ning take a compliment dress for that lady, don't hurt her morals, and send it back to Chao's big boat. The maid Ning was covering her head. Hearing His Highness's order, she was stunned for a while before she realized it. He took a piece of clothing, ran to the stern, and put it on for TNK from Chao's family. At this time, the big boat of the Chao family also approached. After thanking her again and again, she took her young wife back to the boat. During this process, the fragment of the 10,000 ghost sword also flew back from under the lake. Wang Jie raised his right hand, and the fragments flew back into his sleeve robe. Yan Fei's eyes flickered, and then he heard Wang Jie say to him, Since people have been rescued, you go and tell Chen He and Yi Yang to go into the water again. The wife of Chao's family fell to the bottom of the lake earlier, and there is a spherical spar about the size of a palm. You call them too. Someone look for it and fetch it for me. After defeating the phantom of the giant dragon, besides obtaining part of the other party's memory, Wang Jie also left some things behind. Yan Fei was a little surprised, and muttered in his heart. Your Highness is sitting on the boat, how does he know that there is something under the water? And the little thing that flew into His Highness's sleeve just now. His Highness is becoming more and more unfathomable. If you don't understand it, you don't understand it, but Yan Fei still conveys the words. The two of Chen He just got out of the water to take a few breaths, and then went under the lake according to Wang Jie's request. Not to mention the cheers from the big boat of the Chao family. After Wang Jie finished arranging things, he went to examine another memory he had harvested from the phantom of the giant flood dragon. Spiritual beast embryo breathing method, what kind of exercise is this? It's not like martial arts, nor is it about cultivating the soul. Wang Jie was curious, and only felt that the reincarnation skills arranged by Jiaobu were definitely not ordinary things. Just when he was about to ponder this set of strange exercises in depth, Chen He and the two who entered the lake to salvage them helped Wang Jie bring the things up very efficiently. At the same time, there was a shout from the Chao family's big boat. May I ask who is the hero on board? Please also tell me his name. My Chao family is willing to reward you for saving your life with a lot of money and gifts. Chao Yuanjin, the second son of the Chao family, shouted at Wang Jie's boat from the bow. Your Highness, Yan Fei looked at Wang Jie with a questioning look, whether he wanted to respond to the Chao family. Wang Jie didn't comment, just said, Ask Chen He and Yi Yang to give me that crystal. Without the owner's permission, Yan Fei naturally wouldn't take the initiative to answer Chao's family. He took the crystal from Chen He's hand. Yan Fei held it in his hand, and used the feeling of his skin to test whether there was any hidden danger in this thing. In his opinion, this palm-sized spar has azure blue color, roughly spherical shape, large and small planes, smooth surface, hard yet soft texture, and it doesn't feel easy to break. There is a touch of bright red inside the crystal, and after flipping the sphere, it can be found that there is a gap on the surface of the sphere. Yan Fei felt a little bit that, as a blood-changing martial artist, he could sense and control the blood vessels of the whole body, including the capillaries located in the lower layer of the skin, and control the pores on the skin, obtaining an extremely sensitive sense of touch. Yan Fei felt that the inside of this spar seemed to be unusual. It seemed that there was a lot of energy stored in it, and it escaped along the gap on the surface. This crystal should be able to be used as martial arts accumulation, or a very high-quality martial arts accumulation, which can be swallowed and digested to improve the warrior's cultivation. However, Yan Fei just checked the items habitually, without any thought, and after confirming that it was harmless, he handed it over to Wang Jie himself. However, in Wang Singer, what he saw in front of the eyes of the Mingling who could better pry into the origin, was not simply the merits of martial arts. Giant Zhao Jingyuan. The conception is blocked, the skin is damaged, and the gaps are repaired, and the mother can be found to conceive with her, and give birth to a mixed blood dragon species, born with the blood of the giant dragon. Giant Zhao. Water Demon King, desolate ancient giant beast, calling the wind and calling the rain, sun and star hiding in the sky. Singer Wang held the spar, and the eye of mingling and the slate took effect at the same time, identifying the essence of this thing. So that's the case. After swallowing it, warriors can indeed absorb a large amount of energy, and digest the blood of the giant dragon, gaining certain benefits. But there is another purpose, that is to give birth to the next embryo with the blood of the giant dragon. Wang Jie played with the spherical crystal in his hand. According to the description of the stone slab, the name of the giant dragon is Water Lake Demon King and Ancient Giant Beast. Just from the title, although the potential of Giant Zhao is lower than that of Monkey with Stone Embryo, it is stronger than Mountain Boa. If this essence is conceived and cultivated into an embryo, as a clone. Wang Ji's thoughts turned, but he also noticed that there was a gap on the surface of the crystal, which was unavoidably left by Wang Jie when he cut off the phantom of the giant flood dragon and Mrs. Chao's young lady. The existence of this gap will dissipate the essence energy in the essence. However, this giant jellyfish essence is also a strange thing. Just like when the human skin is cut, although it will bleed, the blood will also coagulate and form scabs, blocking the wound until the damaged skin recovers. The same is true for the giant jellyfish essence. Wang Jie observed the damage and repair of the essence with the eyes of Ming Ling. About 5 days later, this gap will automatically repair, but the escape of essence is inevitable, the activity of essence will decrease, and the instinct will enter a dormant state. It needs to replenish essence and let it enter a suitable environment before it can rejuvenate this essence. In addition to figuring out what happened to this spherical crystal, Wang Jie also knew what was going on with the spirit beast embryo breathing method. The hybrid species born from the giant jellyfish Jingyuan is born with the bloodline of the giant jellyfish. This, spirit beast's embryo breathing method, is a technique used to tap the potential of the bloodline. Thinking of tapping the potential of the bloodline, Wang Jie immediately thought of the snake egg he picked earlier. As the choice of the second avatar, Wang Jie valued the trace of mountain viper blood in this snake egg very much. If the blood of this ancient giant beast can be developed, the upper limit of the avatar clone can be greatly increased. Originally, Wang Jie was thinking about how to tap the potential of the bloodline after the hatching of the snake eggs was completed, but now the phantom of the giant flood dragon sent Wang Jie a skill to develop the power of the bloodline. He felt inexplicably lucky that he could have such an unexpected joy. On the other side, on the big boat of the Chao family, young Master Chao Yuanjin was confused when he saw that the rescue boatman did not respond. Is it because the reputation of his Chao family is not good, or is it that the salvage crew doesn't like the reward, or doesn't want it? Chao Yuanjin was puzzled. At this time, he saw the bone-training martial artist who also went into the water to save people earlier. The Bone Realm martial artist is the Chao family nursing home, so Chao Yuanjin asked directly. Yao you just saw the 2 warriors who went into the water to save people, right? Master, those 2 adults just now are masters of Yijinjing. Yao replied truthfully. But Chao Yuanjin gasped when he heard that. 2 tendon-changing warriors. He knew that in the whole world, all warriors who could reach the upper 3 realms were not ordinary people, they were all born with talent and opportunity. Even Chao Yuanjin, a descendant of an aristocratic family, did not know if he would have a chance to break through to the tendon-yielding realm in his whole life. The tendon-yielding warriors in Shaanxi County all have names and surnames, and all the local gentry know each other. But right now, the two tendon-yielding warriors who suddenly appeared must not be locals. Chao Yuanjun keenly felt that the matter was not simple, and secretly said, "It is rumored that when you see Yijin Wuren, you should regard him as a 7th-rank official." With a little more respect in his tone, Chao Yuanjun cupped his hands towards the boat and said, "Chao Yuanjun from the Chao family in Shaanxi, I would like to thank the two gentlemen for their life-saving grace. If the two gentlemen are interested, you may wish to come and talk. I, Chao's family, will prepare a banquet for 1,000 gold to repay the kindness of the two gentlemen." Chao Yuanjun yelled again. His mind was active, wondering where this muscle-yielding warrior came from. Could it be? Chao Yuanjun's pupils shrank slightly, thinking of a very oppressive possibility. He suddenly remembered something that the elders of the family had deliberately reminded him recently. Recently, an adult came to Shaanxi County to travel in microservices. The juniors should keep a low profile and be more careful, so as not to cause trouble for the family. Chao Yuanjun's expression changed slightly when he thought of this incident, and he stared straight at the ordinary boat on the lake. Under his gaze, Xiao Chuaner, who had not responded all this time, finally stepped out of a warrior. The warrior was wet all over, holding the object wrapped in a silk scarf with both hands. He jumped from the bow of the small boat, crossed the distance of 3 feet in the air, and jumped onto the big boat of Chao's family. Whether it was the bow of the small boat that took off or the big boat of Chao's family that landed, it was not shaken by his force at all. It is smooth and stable, and the strength can be retracted and released freely. One can tell that it is martial arts transformed into strength. This is the martial artist who went into the water to save people and change muscles. But Chao Yuanjun is no longer paying attention to Yijin warriors, because the other party lifted a corner of the silk scarf, revealing the appearance of the object he was holding. Square seal, golden body, tortoise shell, fish pattern, red ribbon. Chao Yuanjun choked for breath, and subconsciously bowed to salute. Gold seal and red ribbon, only one person in the entire Yu Kingdom can wear this item. My master said that meeting is fate. Since Mrs. Chao has the heart, then go to Chao's residence and have a treat. Yi Yang said to Chao Yuanjun calmly. After he showed the King Yu seal, he quickly wrapped it with a silk scarf. Chao Yuanjun was stunned for a while, and then she realized that she spoke quickly. "It should be like this, it should be like this, sir, please reply to your master, the Chao family in Shaanxi, please respectfully come to the humble house." Yi Yang nodded in satisfaction, held Yu Wangyan in his hands, turned around and kicked his legs, and jumped back onto the boat. He bent down, entered the cabin, returned the Yu Wang Baoyan to Wang Jie, and told Chao Yuanjun what he said. Wang Jie put his mark in his sleeve pocket, and after listening to Yi Yang's words, he nodded slightly. "Okay, let's go to Zhou's next." The surrounding guards didn't have the slightest opinion, they just directed the boatman to turn the bow and lead the big boat of Chao's family to the shore. Wang Jie was sitting in the cabin, but he was thinking about some things that Sikong Han Dang had investigated for him before leaving the palace. This Chao family is also a prominent local family. Although they don't give in, they have a lack of personal morality. It's because some collateral clansmen use the family's prestige to do some nasty things in private. Originally, as the king of Yu, it was not easy for me to use such trivial things to attack the Chao family. It was an anti-aircraft gun to hit mosquitoes, which could not hurt the opponent's route. It was a thankless thing. But right now, there is an incident of water floods harming people in this Shanghu Lake. The young wife of the Chao family is also very famous in Shaanxi, Bone, and even spread the whole incident. If the news leaks out, if such a rare treasure like Jiaogu is known to the world, not only will there be chaos in the country of Yu, but it may also cause covetousness and military disasters from outside, and I will miss this treasure. I need to do something to divert the public's attention, and the Chao family is a good one. By the way, let's kill chickens and monkeys, and beat these big families who are swaying in their minds. At the same time, let's see if I can gather some of the luck of these big families to me. Kill 3 birds with 1 stone, you can try it. Ha ha chew, the drenched woman sneezed. Sister-in-law, don't catch a cold, I'll wipe it off for you. The third miss of the Chao family, Chao Xin, held a handkerchief to wipe the water off her sister-in-law Tian K's face. The young woman who fell into the water and was rescued not long ago was wrapped in a blanket, her hair was wet and stuck to her cheeks, and her face was pale. Chao Xin felt distressed when she saw her sister-in-law's distressed appearance, and comforted her. Sister-in-law, let's take the sedan chair later. The second brother has already informed the servants at home to boil hot water, make ginger tea, and prepare dry clothes, please bear with it. Tian Ke sniffed. In fact, her heart was much calmer than her appearance. She even asked interestingly, Sister, which boatman rescued me? I have to thank them very much, otherwise my life will be accounted for below. As Tian Ke said, he couldn't help but recall the warmth and courage that suddenly appeared in the cold and fear when he was at the bottom of the lake. The feeling she recalled at this moment. Chao Xin didn't know what her sister-in-law was thinking. Thinking of the savior, she said in a strange tone. Second brother has already gone to entertain those guests, that is. Chao Xin frowned slightly. It was hard for her to describe the attitude her second brother showed after meeting the people on the boat. Very tense, very restrained, and even a little flattering. Who is that person? It seems that the origin is not simple. Chao Xin murmured to herself. In her eyes, her second elder brother is a formidable person. He talks and laughs like a gentleman, and has no casual contacts. He is a famous young talent of their generation in Yu country. Many uncles praise the second brother, although he is young, but he is a rising star, and he will also be a talent for governing the county in the future. The second brother is so powerful, he has a good reputation in the younger generation of Yu country. Although the life-saving grace is certainly worthy of gratitude, but it's just to entertain the benefactor, but the second brother can't be so flattering, right? Chao Xin complained in her heart. She rarely saw her second brother showing such an expression in front of outsiders, as if he was facing his father or some high-ranking people. Who is that person? As a lady of every family, Chao Xin had seen the world, so she secretly felt strange. This is not. As soon as she got off the boat, she poked her head and looked towards the rescuer's boat. It was a warrior with a sword who cleared the way first, leading a young man in white to get off the boat. That young man has a very good appearance. Chao Xin has rarely seen such a handsome person, and it is not an exaggeration to call him a handsome man. But the skin is only on the outside. She saw that those warriors were all led by young men in white clothes, and her second brother Chao Yuanjun even stepped forward to salute immediately, with a lot of respect and fear in his words and expressions. Chao Xin watched from a distance, with various doubts popping up in her little head. It's strange, which handsome man is this, so powerful? The children of famous families flashed through her mind, but she couldn't find the right one. After thinking about it, suddenly, I remembered the things my uncles and uncles in the family told me recently. Almond eyes widened, small mouth slightly opened. Chao Xin raised her hand to cover her lips lightly, as if lost in thought, she murmured. This is His Royal Highness the King of Yu. Chao Yuanjun received the King of Yu. The carriage came, and it was Chao Yuanjun who mounted the first carriage to welcome King Yu. The second carriage was arranged for Chao Xin and Tian Ke, the two female relatives. Sister, which family are those benefactors from? We have to thank them well. Tian Ke said. Chao Xin pursed her lips, looked at her sister-in-law's curious look, leaned over, and whispered in her ear. Tian Ke listened attentively, and gradually a pair of peach blossom eyes showed shock. The carriage drove, all the way back to Chao's mansion in Shangxi from the shore of Shanghu Lake. The two female relatives did not go through the main entrance, because the main entrance was reserved for honored guests, and they both went through the side entrance. Tian Ke was eager to keep out of the cold, and was received by the maid to take a bath and change clothes, while Chao Xin walked quickly from the side door to the direction of the main door. It can be seen that the entire Chao mansion is in motion. The male and female servants are busy. Some carry water and sweep ashes, some carry fragrant flowers and candles, and some prepare drinks and banquets. She even saw the elders in the family, with white hair and dark spots on their faces, all wearing elegant dresses at the moment, and their whole bodies were well groomed. The moment the gate of Chao's mansion opened, a carriage arrived at the gate of Chao's mansion without any haste. The second elder brother led the way. The clan elders received him, the servants scattered flowers and offered incense, and welcomed the young man in white into his home. On this day, Chao's mansion is destined to be lively and tense. Even at night, Chao's mansion is still brightly lit. Until we go to the wing. Yan Fei checked around for a while, and nodded after confirming that there was no problem. Wang Jie stayed here, sat on the edge of the bed, untied Wang Guijian from his waist, and put it on his knees. Killing dragons during the day and socializing at night, he had a busy day. The Chao family still respects the status of the King of Yu, and the etiquette is quite thoughtful, and there is nothing wrong with it. After Wang Jie entered Chao's residence, the Chao family could be said to be respectful and treated each other with high standards of etiquette, and the elders of the Chao family showed up. These clan elders were at the level of Juqing during the time of Lao Yuwang, and now they are begging for bones and returning to the family to support them. The head of Chao's contemporary patriarchal family settled in the royal capital and served as an official in the court. Seeing King Yu's visit, the most respected clan elder of the Chao family showed up on his own initiative. During the banquet, they paid attention to Wang Ji's comfort and hobbies, recalled the achievements of the old Yu king in the past, talked about the achievements of the Chao family in Shaanxi, and cried when they talked about the emotion. The next thing is to flatter Wang Jie. Yu Gong, Chao praised Wang Jie as the king of Yu for the rule of inaction as a sage, so that the people can all live in peace and recuperate. It should be said that the big family can really speak, and Wang Ji's monarch offline system has been blown into a rule of inaction, a sage's act. In private, Chao thanked the king of Yu for saving his life. The son of the Chao family, who is also the husband of TNK, is now the county magistrate of Shaanxi County. Chao Yuanyu bluntly said, "If there is no kindness from His Royal Highness, Zhu Aoxing's life is in danger, and the great kindness is beyond words." Yuan Yu engraved it in his heart. Then he drank 9 cups in one breath. Don't say whether the Chao family is hiding small thoughts, vacillating between Doxuan and the King of Yu, but the superficial skills are really tight, without any flaws, which shows the self-cultivation and shrewdness of the big family. Those who can be local tyrants are not idiots, they are all human beings. Wang Jie commented. He shook his head and said in his heart, "In the history of my hometown of Blue Star, there are many clear examples. On the surface, they are loyal ministers, but in reality they look like wolves, and they seem loyal like traitors. The big family will not give the King of Yu a chance to criticize, and they are cautious in what they say and do. However, what can you do if the water is not leaking on the surface? It's not like I can't find a flaw." Wang Jie smiled slightly, his eyes lit up. The insight ability of the Eye of Mingling is revealed at this moment. This pair of divine pupils can not only spy on ghosts and gods, the sky and the earth, but also people. Other people's cultivation depends on their luck. Especially luck in the world, black, white, blue, purple, vermilion, gold. Ordinary people have white luck. If they have a little reputation and are recognized and respected by others, they will change towards blue. But if he is hated, reviled, hated, especially when the scolding is greater than exaggeration, then the overall luck of the person will be black. At a glance, Wang Jie found that in the entire Chao mansion, most of the ordinary servants were of white luck, and some clan elders and young talents were even of blue luck. But in such a large area of green and white luck, Wang Jie still found 7 or 8 guys with black luck. Wang Ji's mingling eyes saw that in Chao's mansion, there were a few members of the Chao family with black and white luck. What's more, 95% black, half white, or even faintly it reveals a little ominous, blood-light color. How many people would have to be resented to make luck black like this? That's right, there are all kinds of birds in the forest. If all the rich and powerful families are law-abiding and have noble morals, then the world will not be able to achieve great harmony. Wang Jie didn't feel much surprise, he used the eyes of mingling to gain insight into this person. In addition to knowing that the other party is about 25 years old, in the state of meat training, and the energy in the body is severely depleted. In addition, Wang Jie can also understand the content of this person's conversation based on the movement of his lips. Knowing that the other party's name is Chao Shokshu, he is drinking in the courtyard far away from the center of the Chao's mansion at the moment, and complaining to his subordinates. Why did the King of Yu come to Shaanxi in such a good manner? Is it because the concubines in the palace are not beautiful? Or do you not want to spend the money? This made me afraid to go out these days. The pretty widow of the Bai family, but I miss you so much. Long time. Master, you have to bear with it for a few more days. When King Yu leaves, it will not be too late for you to find flowers and ask willows. The servant comforted his master. Chao Shu curled her lips and muttered, "What do you know? I'm afraid that the pretty widow will run away, and things will change later." The servant showed a treacherous smile. "Master, please don't disturb me. I have arranged for a few brothers to watch over the widow's house. If she doesn't pay back the debt, where can she go? She lent us 3,000 yuan 3 months ago, and now it's 5,000 yuan, and it's due the day after tomorrow. I have seen that her family has harvested this year, 30 mu of susukita, and 68 shi of grain will be finished. According to the grain price we collect in Shaanxi, it will be just over 4,000 yuan. Let's make some stumbling blocks and lower the price. We estimate that the money they got is only 3,000 and 3,000. There is also the mulberry tree in the widow's house. The brothers secretly tried something, but it was all withered, and there was no income from weaving. What did they use to plug the debt hole? Repaying debts is a matter of course. If you don't pay the money, shouldn't you use other things to pay it back? This kind of principle, even if the king of Yu is here, he can't find fault with it, can he? Doesn't the white widow have to fall into the hands of the master?" Quote. Listening to the servant's words, Chao Shu's eyes gradually lit up, and he licked his lips. "Okay, you have to do this well. I will reward you and those under your command." The servant showed a look of great joy. The two were whispering evil things in the courtyard, but they didn't know that the walls had eyes. Wang Jie watched the two of them talking, shook his head, a smile appeared on his face, and his eyes were sharp. "Isn't this just a flaw for me? The lack of strict governance of the family, the lack of rules, and the harm to the people can give Chao's family a good blow." With a specific course of action in mind, Wang Jie put away his pupils. "Turn your attention to the wild ghost sword, on your knees. Today I harvested a volume of Picture of Traveling Clouds and Spreading Rain, so I can study it well and use the general's tricks to use this method of nourishing the soul of water flood dragons for my own use." Wang Jie closed his eyes, his mind immersed in the practice of cultivating the soul, and in his mind he visualized the appearance of the first opening of the heaven and the earth according to the record of the enlightenment of the 4 elephants. Then, with his incomparable talent, he thoroughly comprehended the extremely profound picture of moving clouds and distributing rain. Moving clouds and rain is just a kind of change of heaven and earth, involving the movement of water and wind. The conception of my Sixiang Kiming Lu is higher than that of the map of clouds and rain, and its profound meaning can be integrated into it. In the record of the 4 elephants of enlightenment, Wang Jie's thoughts changed, and the profound meanings of the 2 cultivation methods merged and collided with each other. He took 4 images of enlightenment as the framework and picture of clouds and rain as the material, filling them into the framework of earth, sea, fire and wind. This fusion appears in the world he visualized. Wind and water evolve into clouds, opposing the earth and floating in the sky. Not only that, a burst of thunder fell, and a roar of a giant beast came from the thick clouds. The clouds rolled, thunder and lightning cleared the way, and a giant dragon leapt out of the clouds, with a pair of golden pupils flashing, and it opened its teeth and claws to expel the clouds and rain. At this point, the chaotic world began to have meteorological changes. The water vapor rose into clouds and rain, and the water vapor sank into rivers and seas. With the water vein as the boundary, the terrain and mountain shape are opened up. There are high mountains and snow-capped peaks, and when the ice and snow melt, they turn into trickles, converging into a long river and rushing endlessly. There are basins and valleys, where rainwater and rivers converge to form lakes. There is a dense river network and a vast and wide plain. Picture of clouds and rain and Sixiang Kiminglu have wonderful reactions in the process of combination. The world Wang Geguan conceived has become more vivid and orderly under the evolution. The bigger and more detailed the visualization, the more efficient the cultivation of the soul will be, and the tougher and stronger the soul will be. Wang Gepan realized what he had gained. He felt that his soul was beginning to have a kind of toughness. It seemed that as long as he moved his mind slightly, his soul could fly up. He saw that the soul unit displayed on the slate was 2.31. This is approaching the threshold of the second stage of coming out of the shell, which is much faster than my martial arts practice. Sure enough, talent, skills, and resources, the cultivation of these 3 has no shortcomings, and it has skyrocketed. Wang Jie estimated the time he spent cultivating the soul cultivating system, adding up to less than a month. The increase in soul size is so impressive, but the actual combat effect. Wang Jie's thoughts moved slightly, stirring up the filthy aura of myriad ghost sword. When the filthy air enters the sea of consciousness, it evolves into the image of a ghost general. It and Wang Jie are also old rivals. They have fought hundreds of times, so they are quite familiar with Wang Jie. But this time, after entering Wang Jie's sea of consciousness, its eyes flickered, obviously noticing the changes in the world that Wang Jie had imagined. General Ghost subconsciously clenched the flag and sword in his hand, and the world felt even more oppressive to him. Change. Strength. It spoke intermittently. Wang Jie's thoughts moved slightly. This time, it was not the four-image transformation, but the clouds in the sky were churning, and a giant dragon soared out of it, with a pair of golden pupils shining brightly, and rushed straight at the ghost general. The power of the golden-eyed giant dragon was so strong that the ghost general's pupils shrank, and he waved the flag in his hand decisively, releasing a large amount of filthy air, causing it to form a large black fog barrier to cover his figure. Just looking at it, General Ghost subconsciously retreated. Invincible. General Ghost wants to create a fog barrier as a buffer, first check the reality of the giant dragon, and then act cautiously. However, the giant dragon opened its mouth wide and spewed out a violent hurricane. The hidden black mist was blown away by the strong wind, and the ghost general had nowhere to hide but could only face the impact of the giant flood dragon. There was no way to avoid it. The ghost general became ruthless. He held the 10,000 ghost sword, and summoned tens of thousands of troops to fight head-on. But this fight is about to collapse at the touch of a finger. The gigantic body of the giant dragon directly smashed through the army formation and charged at General Ghost. The ghost general had no choice but to gather his strength and forcibly slash out with a single sword. But this is like the mantis arms acting like a cart, and the giant dragon smashed into the ghost general's body. Not only that, the giant dragon sucked in a big mouthful, and a large amount of filthy air was swallowed into the belly, continuously obliterating the resentment and will of the ghost general. After the golden-eyed giant flood dragon turned into Wang Jie's appearance, Wang Jie understood that this round of death struggle was the one where he defeated the ghost general with a destructive attitude, obtained the pure yin energy that nourishes the growth of the soul, and mastered one point of control over the 10,000 ghost sword. The lethality has increased so significantly, it seems that in the future, General Ghost will be twice as big as me. Otherwise, it is not willing to challenge me at all, because it will lose. Wang Jie concluded that he personally felt the enhancement brought to him by the picture of clouds and rain. As expected of the Water Z Demon King preparing exercises for his reincarnation, the strength is evident, and there are still 2 volumes of such exercises. Wang Jie thought of Great Jiao forming technique, wondering whether this exercise can also bring surprises to his martial arts practice. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.